'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the land Fox News warned its viewers of a dastardly plan. The liberals were launching their war on the season to get rid of Christmas and commit acts of treason, removing decorations out of their sight, and telling you that Santa and Jesus ain't white. Environmentalists who'll come right after your soul. They hate all things Christmas, especially the coal. They'll sneak in your house all dressed in their flannel, and instead give the bad kids some new solar panels. They'll take up all decorations that please us. They'll even go after tiny baby Jesus. Now all these Fox lies cause such a frustration. Who would save us all from this misinformation? When live from the net there came lots of chatter. Could it be old St. Nick, or perhaps someone fatter? Broadcasting from New Orleans down in Louisiana, it was none other than Liberal Dan, coming to save the holiday season, busting through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. But I cannot do it myself, he exclaimed, so he called other groups, each one by name, on Christians, on Muslims, on Wiccans, on Jews, on Hindus and Buddhists, and atheists too. Let us all spread the word and tell them indeed that there's no war on Christmas, just one on greed. So instead of joining this manufactured fight, listen to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. From New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, just join us in the chat room here at liberaldanradio.com, which is the link to the YouTube channel. Why? Because Blog Talk Radio still isn't working properly, and therefore we can't use the soundboard or the phone lines or anything like that. So we are just going to be doing chat via the chat room, because it's, the early 90s, I guess. I don't know, but you can join us via the chat that way, and I guess I don't have to give my Blog Talk Radio warning. Maybe. I mean, I do have the option to direct connect now, so we can always see if we can start the show on Blog Talk Radio, but we'll give it a second before we decide to do that. Anywho, if you're listening after the live broadcast or watching after the live broadcast, you can always leave your comments, questions, concerns, etc. over on the show thread at liberaldan.com, facebook.com/liberaldanradio, liberaldanradio on the Twitter, or you can come to liberaldanradio.com, which is youtube.com/liberaldanradio, and leave your comments on the episode thread there. Shouts out to everybody who is currently in the chat room. I got Aaron, TV2, welcome to the show. Steve, Jolie, Jackie, Dawn, Romper, Stomper, Domper Do, I see you and you and you. Thank you all for joining. Remember to smash that like button before we smash the patriarchy. And we shall be talking about lots of different issues today. I was kind of talking on Monday, maybe about trying to do a show, maybe kind of a show about, I don't know if it would be like a true crime type show or if it would be like a mystery or something, but Kevin John, who is an artist for Disney, we have met him. He's basically, according to everybody who follows him on Facebook, who's made orders from him or who's done various other things, has disappeared off the face of the planet. Nobody can seem to find him. And so everybody's like, what's going on with this dude? And I was like, this might be an interesting foray and new subject, new kind of thing to go into for Liberal Dan Radio, but I just haven't had the time to put into it to make a really good show on that. So we're going to hold off on that for a bit, especially because of the Colorado ruling. I mean, that's the breaking news of the day. Or of the week. That's the big news of this week is the Colorado ruling. And of course we'll be talking about that. We neglected to talk about the passing of Sandra Day O'Connor. A little bit, we'll talk a little bit about that maybe. The fact that, trailblazer, first woman on the Supreme Court. She famously said it's nice to be the first one, paraphrasing, but you just don't want to be the last one. Clearly she wasn't the last one, and we've had several great Supreme Court justices who have been women on the court since then, and one who so far is kind of if that, Miss Barrett on the court. So, hey, what's going on, Tim? Good to see you. Let's see, just to kind of let you know what's going on with my quest for partner, or YouTube partner, or whatever. YouTube's weird. Let me see if I could bring up the analytics page on here. Let's bring up the analytics on YouTube, and we can go and let's see. We come over here, and I just want to show you what I'm seeing, just so that I'm not crazy when it comes to this. So go to my videos, and we'll bring it up in a second once I get everything loaded properly, just to show the back of the show type things. So we go to analytics, and let's go to the alternate, and hey, it went to the right thing. So analytics, we go to watch time for the last month, or last 28 days, 492.7 hours, which is 232.7 more hours than normal, which is great. Y'all have been doing a great job, and also probably because of the fact that we've been doing 2 shows instead of 1, which is awesome. So we do last 365 days, and everybody will be like, yes, we did it when I hit this button, right? Because watch time, right here it says 3,000. If you hover over it, I guess here's the thing. Watch time 3,042.2. I guess maybe that's the issue. I don't know. 3,042.2. Channel watch time compare with previous period. This includes public, private, unlisted, deleted videos. But I don't have any deleted videos I'm aware of. I don't have any unlisted videos I'm aware of. I don't have any private videos that I'm aware of. So all of my videos are public. So we should be at 3042.2. So we should have just hit the threshold to be able to get to where we're going. So again, y'all are great, and I appreciate you for helping me get to where I need to be. But if we look at here, it just updated. It did just update to what it was. It earlier, in literally a half an hour ago, it was saying 2917. It is now at 2960. So according to this, I'm still 40 hours away. Which means that, from what I've seen and from what I've read, from what I've heard, is that it can take several days for the view hours from that one page to show up on here. I don't know why that is the case. I don't know if it's on one page, why is it on the other? I don't know. But according to one page on YouTube, I should be able to click this button. But according to this page, I'm 40 watch hours shy. So maybe we'll do it today. Maybe this will be the show that gets us there. Maybe we'll get there this show. Maybe this will be the thing that does it. Maybe after the show's over, I'll be able to reload the page. I don't know, but it shouldn't. Then again, it doesn't show up to maybe up to 3 days later. So maybe I'll have to wait 3 more days after the show for it to happen. Who knows? Yes, Aaron, patience, grasshopper. Yes, let's all meditate. Let's talk about something else that's going on in my life that I just happened to find out about today. All right, so I've talked about this already on the show. In 2020, I started off 2020 great. I had a great contract gig. I was making a bunch of money. I was exactly where I wanted to be with life, I thought. I had gotten to a point where I was right where, like I said, when I was 18, 19, or just graduating high school, going to college, I was like, this is really neat to be able to be a contract work. I saw the contract work. I saw it was really awesome to be able to work your own hours, be your own boss. So I finally got to where I wanted to be able to write my own paycheck, be able to take on my own clients, be able to do it. It was great. And then, of course, COVID hits. Business goes down. by the end of the year, I'm not making any money. So what happened? So I go to the healthcare exchange, and the healthcare exchange goes, "Hey, you're not making any money. Everybody go on Medicaid." So, all right, cool. Everybody goes on Medicaid. Fine. I've paid my taxes for a long, long time. That's what it's there for, right? And as I've discussed on the show before, when I got my current position at my current job, in my current, where I am, and I'm happy where I am, when I got that position, I looked up income thresholds, and I was looking at my pay stubs, and I was like, once I get to the point annually where I've made more money than I could make in order to disqualify myself from Medicaid, I don't want to commit Medicaid fraud. So I'm going to, report my income as one would, and let them know, hey, I've made more than enough income to disqualify myself from Medicaid at this point. And they said, well, thank you for letting us know. However, we're not kicking anybody off Medicaid during the pandemic. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to argue with you, but I just wanted to cover my bases, cross all my T's, dot all my I's, make sure that I don't get in trouble. So all of 2021 goes by. All of 2022 goes by. I'm still not having to pay premiums at work. All of 2023 goes by, and then towards the end of 2023, it's like, okay, now we're getting to the point where people are going to start getting kicked off of Medicaid. Fine. So they tell us that November 30th was going to be the last day that we would be covered. We get the letter, but you can appeal, because my work coverage technically doesn't kick in until the January 1st. Now, I know I'm informed enough about insurance policies. I'm informed enough about insurance in and of itself to know that if you have a change in situation, like loss of insurance from somewhere else, what have you, that creates a special enrollment period where you would be able to either like go on healthcare.gov and pick up insurance or pick up work insurance. But like, I really didn't want to have to pay the monthly work insurance for a month and then start paying towards a deductible that I then would have to start paying towards a deductible again, because that's stupid. And then I really don't have to go find a health exchange plan for just a month, then have my other health insurance kick in. Stupid. When all I needed to do was do this appeal, because the terms of the letter stated, if you appeal, the process of the appeal as it plays out, you will still have coverage. I'm like, all right, well, I'm sure they're going to have a lot of stuff. I'll do my appeal. I'll get covered for the rest of the month while the appeal plays out, and then won't worry about it once work insurance kicks in on the 1st. I won't have any gap in coverage. We'll be good, right? Right? We'll be good. Right? Okay. So I appeal on the 30th. I appeal when I get my letter. Even before the 30th. I already got my letter. I appeal. I wait. I call. Well, we don't have anything in the system. We don't have anything in the system. I was like, well, I'm supposed to. We don't have anything in the system. So I called with the appeal. So then I went online. Well, let me try doing it online. Let's do the online appeal. Let's see if that works. I did the online appeal. The next day I get the letter from the phone appeal. I'm like, so this is December 12th now that I get this. Meanwhile, it's still not showing up that my coverage has been extended. So now for 13 days, I'm now not covered. Keeps going. I'm like, now we're leaving for Disney. Don't know what's going on. I don't have health coverage. Medicines are running out. I'm like, this is getting very aggravating. We're supposed to have health coverage now. We're supposed to be covered from the point where I file the appeal until the appeal's over, but it's not here. So we get back from Disney. I start trying to call Monday. Not a call, I get a call today. I answer the phone. Person's like, well, we have your income here and your income's under. But I want to know, I was like, first I wanted to know if other expenses can offset income to make it so that what my income is less. And I'm just, humor me, because I have the right to do that.
And B, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to have my coverage extended, and I still have the right to appeal, between the first and now, I should have still been covered. I should have still had health coverage between the first and now. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, they're like, okay, well, we don't even have it in our system that you have an appeal. I'm like, I have the docket number, right? I have the letter downstairs. I can send you the letter if you want. She's like, sure, okay. So I get downstairs. I send her the letter. And I'm talking with Cassie. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. Because she has one of her important medicines. She has one pill left, the tomorrow's pill. And then we have to figure out how we're going to fill this prescription. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll try Good RX, because that'll bring the price down maybe enough. And I have money in my FSA account. If worse comes to worse, we just pay the Good RX price instead of the insurance price. Boom, done. Fine. So we're about to do all that. I go look on the portal and it's like, your case is open. I'm like, wait, the case is open. Don't do that yet. Let me go call them up. And after talking to 3 different people, they're like, yeah, your insurance, and I looked at what it said on the page is that my coverage is from 11/30/2023 to 11/30/2024. So, and the guy's like, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm like, what? And the guy's like, this is good news, isn't it? I'm like, it is, but now if this is true and this is legitimate and this is correct, and I never said the words that I never say. I never say those words that I never say, that I should never say, the are you sure words, because I'm just like, because I'm not sure, so I'm not asking him if he's sure, because I'm not sure. But if he is in fact correct, and if he is in fact correct, that not only did they just push through the appeal and say, okay, now you have coverage, but if they pushed through the appeal and just went ahead and said, fine, you have insurance for the next year, I will now be paying $900 a month for insurance that I don't need. And if I had a soundboard, I would play the sad trombone right now. Because I am paying money for insurance. If that's the case, I will be paying $900 a month for insurance that I don't need. Now, it may very well be that when I have the show on Monday, I might come back and be like, it's wrong. The guy was wrong. And that the only thing that apparently some notes have to be added into the system. It may very well be that that's the way that they had to push it through the system in order for me to have the coverage. And maybe once everything goes through the system, everything will be updated, and maybe it'll only be until the appeal is resolved and finished or whatever. And if that's the case, fine. I got it to do what I wanted to do. We can fill our medicines. We can go to the doctors through the end of the month, because all of our yearly doctor visits were supposed to be happening now, and I had to cancel 2 of mine, had to cancel the kids, etc. Not a big deal, because we could just go in January, and they're all well visits, so they all underinsured, so they're all covered for free, 100% first dollar anyway. But I even said to Cassie, my wife, I was like, I looked at her and I was like, all of the possible situations, and I was like, what if I actually successfully make an appeal, and now I end up having to pay $900 a month for insurance that I don't need? Which, now that I think about it, hindsight being 2020, what I should have done is I should have declined work coverage initially. When work offered coverage, I should have initially declined the work coverage and then once the Medicaid ran out, then submitted that to work, and then I would have been able to say, okay, now start my plan. That's what I should have done. But the reason I didn't think to do that at the time was because I've been thinking that, I've just been damn lucky to be having Medicaid this whole time since like the spring of 2021, because under normal circumstances I wouldn't have been. So in reality speaking, I've been doing really well by not having to pay the work insurance premiums all this time. And so maybe I should consider that a blessing. But had I thought about all of the possible situations ahead of time before signing up for the work insurance, I would have said, no, the proper thing to do is decline the work insurance now, see how the Medicaid resolves, then use the Medicaid letter to open up a special enrollment period with work and get work insurance that way. So learn from my mistakes, people. If you ever have a situation like this or similar to it, and you have to make a decision where if you're not sure as to when one insurance benefit is going to run out or another, don't jump the gun and get the new insurance. Wait for the other insurance situation to resolve itself, and then use the new fresh open enrollment period that opens up because you lost the previous coverage. So yeah. So that was part of my day today. The nerdy part of my day today was that I had been talking about mostly on my Nerdy Dan channel, but there's this new card game called Lorcana. This is one of the filler cards that comes with Lorcana or whatever. And I've been playing that a bunch, and I really enjoy the game. And the next set that's coming out, one that has a special box, and the special box has like Stitch on the cover, and there's a larger version of Stitch, and Stitch is my favorite Disney character. And they're also having usually when people play card games, they play them on a playmat. Now I have sleeves for my cards, so I'm not necessarily worried about it. But I wasn't really spending any money on a playmat. But as soon as I saw that there was a Stitch playmat coming out, I'm like, I need that Stitch playmat. And these playmats go fast, like ridiculously fast. So one of my local gaming stores was like, hey, we're doing pre-sales right at noon today for lunch. I'm like, went there right at opening, got one of each set up, boom, done. I have the playmat pre-ordered, I have the gift set pre-ordered so I can have my special Stitch card. Huzzah. So I will have my special Stitch. And I'm happy. I'm a happy nerd. I'm a happy Disney nerd for that. So I'm an annoyed friend. I mean, and it was all it's all, and I just have to laugh about most of it. Like it's frustrating. Like I'm half in shock because I can't believe that the guy actually said you're covered, and it's through the end of next November, and I'm like, really? So I'm half in shock. But I'm also half amused at the fact, of course this is happening. Of course this would happen. And, you just gotta laugh. You just gotta laugh at it. Because, in reality, at the end of the day, I could have been paying all those premiums all this time anyway. So, and the guy was like, well, if you want, I could just close your case now. I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Because I still need coverage now, because I don't have coverage. Regardless of anything, I don't have coverage now. So I need the coverage now. So don't close my case yet. Don't do that now. But I'm glad I was able to do whatever I needed to do. And look, it was very, very... I forget what the name of... Was it the Hindu symbol of the deity or whatever that has like the multiple arms? Like lots of arms in the back or whatever. And... like, I was saying that the one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing for the Louisiana Department of Health. And I'm sitting there like, there's too many hands. There's not right hand or left hand. There's like 8 different hands here, and none of them know what's going on. And it's a highly frustrating experience to have to go from one person to, thank you, Aaron. I knew someone would know it in chat. Ganesh. And very frustrating, absolutely frustrating. And old me probably would have been angry, probably would have been yelling at the phone, probably would have been frustrated, probably would have been taking it out on the people. And then maybe after the fact would have been like, look, I understand it's not your fault, but I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm aggravated, I want to get this solved. And I would have, after the fact, apologized for raising my voice, but whatever. But they don't need to be, it's not their fault. They don't need to be the targets of my fat man rants. So, personal growth. I've since, maybe personal growth and maybe a little bit of meds. Maybe a little bit of herbal supplements too, who knows. I'm just like, you know what? I told him how frustrated I am. I said, look, I'm very frustrated. This is a very frustrating thing. I understand it's not your fault, so I'm trying not to take it out on you. And so I'm trying to be as lighthearted about this whole thing as possible. Just please so and I think it came across well, and I'm very confident that with every phone call I came across as friendly and cordial, and maybe that's what got it done quickly. And I kind of made the last guy laugh, because the last guy, I was like, maybe they just wanted to stick it to the next governor. They were like, you know what? Who cares? We don't care. The next governor is an a-hole. We're going to just let this guy have another year of Medicaid because F the governor, F the incoming governor. We don't like him. Screw him. LOL. So who knows? Who knows if that's the case or not? I don't know. But if I got Medicaid for an extra year because they wanted to screw incoming Governor Landry, just more sauce for the goose, as they say, or whatever other cliche you might want to use. So that's been my day. Let's see. Can I connect with Blog Talk Radio? Let's see. Let's play this. I have a message. We are currently experiencing an issue with our live broadcast system. Our engineers are working to fix the issue quickly. Of course, we heard about on Monday from our libertarian friend that they told her 5 days prior, so now it's 7 days ago, that they were trying to fix the issue, and it hadn't been fixed. And even though we were able to get Khalil's call on last week, Khalil's call took forever to hang up, and it is what it is. What I should do is, because I'm not using Blog Talk Radio, I should just connect the soundboard back through so I can at least play the "It Is What It Is" line. I could do that now if I wanted to. See if it messes up anything. Hold on. While we're waiting for Blog Talk Radio to actually load, we can do that. One interesting thing. Did anybody notice was the, hey Trucker John, what's going on? Did you notice at all, was the intro much clearer than it usually is? Like the intro music, was it much clearer than it usually is? Because it probably was, because it was coming straight off the computer instead of coming through Blog Talk Radio. So you probably heard a much clearer War Before Christmas audio and a much clearer opening music, because I was able to find the intro, Thank you, Donald. Did that play through? I heard it. I don't know if it played through on that one, but it might not have played all the way through. Let's see. Mixer. Now that's there. Let's see if it plays. Sorry guys, I played the air horn Wait, mic check, y'all.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Sorry about that. See, that's my problem. That's the problem with having fat fingers. Is you sometimes hit the wrong button. But I just woke everybody up who was asleep. So sorry about that, y'all. Is the audio? I remember when I was using the soundboard with Blog Talk Radio, I was having problems with everybody hearing it. Yes, it's the Aaron horn. Is the sound coming through fine now because I'm not using Blog Talk Radio? Is everything coming through kosher, sounding good? Because I'll just use the soundboard so I can at least play it as what it is. Hey Donna, what's going on? Good to see you. Hey Big Hook, you're gonna give your channel a stroke. I know, I'm sorry. I almost scared myself. I almost jumped myself, and I'm usually hard to make jump. Like my youngest son, Henry, would oftentimes like try and sneak up behind me and try and scare you, and he is as quiet as a mouse. I mean, he is stealthy. Like there was one point where he was like maybe like 5 or 6, maybe even 4, and I didn't hear him come downstairs. I didn't hear him walk behind me. All I heard was him breathing in my ear, and I looked over and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he just smiled at me, and I'm just like, if I was anybody else, I would have been through the ceiling, because holy crap, that's crazy. And he just tried to, it's crazy. He's very, very sneaky, but he didn't, yeah. He's a very stealthy individual. But anyway, yeah, so I didn't want to give the fat man rants to the people in the Louisiana Department of Health, especially if they could make sure that I could have the health coverage at least for the rest of December. I mean, if at the end of the day, I wasn't expecting to have health coverage through November. I was expecting to have to pay for it anyway, and I should be having to pay for it anyway at this point, because whatever. But, you know, if I could have just made the actual correct decision based on the idea that what if the Louisiana Department of Health actually decided to push it through for another year? Oh, that would have been so nice. I would have had so much off my shoulders from next year, but sorry, Donna. Smooches all around to make it better. So, anywho, shouts out. Anyway, 14 viewers, 14 likes. Thank you everybody who is viewing and liking. If you haven't liked, please like, because it's possible that people liked and left. You never know, you know.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. That's weird. It comes in double at that point. Do I need to take that one off and just have the one?
It is what it is.
There you go. That's better. Let's see. So the overall opinion seems to be that Colorado gave the question the SCOTUS to overturn and take the flag. Maybe. And that's one of the things we do want to talk about today is SCOTUS and the Colorado SCOTUS versus the Supreme Court. And again, I don't think we should be getting our hopes up. I mean, one of my aunts is a lawyer. She's worked for the federal government as a lawyer for a long time. I think she worked for the IRS or whatever. She was very excited over the fact that the Supreme Court of Colorado made the decision that they did. And it's a good ruling. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with the ruling. I'm just saying there are a lot of people on the news, and this is not I'm going to have a fat man rant. I'm going to have a fat man rant later that I'm going to do live about another news topic, but this is not going to be it. But maybe this still might be a little bit ranty. A lot of people on the news are trying to make this into a huge deal, and maybe it should be, but again, you have a 6-3 court, maybe a 5-4 court, depending on how Roberts goes. I don't know how Roberts will go. there are certain things where I can predict how Roberts will go. There are certain times where I can predict where it won't go. Like I accurately predicted that it would be a 5-4 overturning of Roe because Roberts didn't vote to overturn Roe. He voted to upkeep the Mississippi law and maybe alter Roe a bit, but he didn't vote to ultimately overturn Roe. The other 5 overturned Roe with Alito and his stupid ruling. But let me go ahead and record this, because here's one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about. Well, the first thing is that what was just announced by the Colorado Republican Party is they're going to try and do all of the legal maneuvering available to turn their primary into a caucus, so that you don't need a ballot, so they can do a caucus instead and choose their nominee via the caucusing system instead of the primary system. So, if they can't win legally, they're going to change the rules, which is just, par for the course. But here's the thing, is that regardless of whether or not he can be on the primary ballot, so let's say they switch to the caucusing system, and via the caucusing system, the GOP says, the GOP of Colorado then says, well, he's still our candidate, he's still our guy, we love Donald, rah, rah, rah. When you vote in November, you're not actually voting for president. You're not. You're voting for electors. And if you're voting for electors, I mean, yes, Donald Trump is most likely going to be the nominee of the Republican Party unless something drastic happens, and Joe Biden is going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party, and maybe other nominees of other minor parties will also come through in several states or what have you. But I'm wondering if the Supreme Court, if they rule, would be like, well, whether or not the individual in question is eligible to serve in office or not, they would probably make some bizarre, maybe not even a bizarre ruling. They might even come up with the idea and say, look, when you vote for president, you're not voting for the candidate, you're voting for the electors. So since you're voting for the electors and not the candidate, you're not choosing the president, you're choosing the electors, and as such, the electors would have to have been the ones involved in the insurrection in order to take them off the ballot. And so therefore you can't take Trump off the ballot because it's not Trump you're voting for the electors, because that's the way the system works. And I'm wondering if that's the way they're going to come down and make that decision, and why they might rule that the presidency is therefore different than other offices like Congress. Whereas Congress, when you vote for a congressperson, you're voting for the individual person running for Congress. Like when I ran for Congress, people voted for me. They didn't vote for somebody who might vote for me. But if I were to run for president, you're not actually voting for me. You're voting for people who are going to vote for me. It just is dressed up and gussied up on the ballot like you're voting for Joe Biden or like you're voting for Donald Trump or whoever else you're voting for. But in reality, you're voting for the electors who are then going to go and vote for those people via the Electoral College. So I'm wondering if the Supreme Court ruling is going to go around that issue. And if that's the way they go, then they would probably argue the only way that you could prevent somebody who is an insurrectionist from being president would be either to impeach him and remove him that way, or to not elect him. Now, of course, there's the other issue of, can you determine whether or not someone is an insurrectionist without being convicted of one? And of course, the Colorado Supreme Court said, of course, it's self-effectuating or whatever. It's something that's self. You don't need anything else. It is what it is. Sorry.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. You don't need to have a ruling. If somebody is an insurrectionist, they're an insurrectionist. You don't need to have a ruling saying convicting somebody of an insurrection in order to have that come into play. Like, you wouldn't have needed a judge to come in after the fact to say, hey, this person who wants to be in Congress for the former Confederacy and now for the southern states took up arms against the United States, and therefore we need to put him on trial before determining whether or not he can serve. No, the policy would have been, no, you fought against the United States, you took up arms against the United States, you can't sit in Congress. Done. That's the end of the story. You're not eligible, period. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court is going to buy that, that's another thing. But even if the Supreme Court were to rule that you don't need to have a conviction of insurrection charges in order for the 14th Amendment to apply to prohibit somebody from serving in federal public office for committing an act of insurrection, I still think they might, especially if it's Alito. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it wouldn't be Alito. Maybe Alito would be too dumb to come up with that. I don't know. But I'm thinking, and this is just me thinking out loud, that maybe they would go, because you're voting for the people in the Electoral College, that, and not voting for Trump specifically, or whoever else the presidential candidate is specifically, that this is why you would not be able to remove the electors from the ballot, because you're not actually voting for the president, you're voting for the electors. So I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Like, subscribe, comment down below. Thank you very much. Have a good day. As always, when we record videos, we just add that at the end so we don't have to re-edit it later. Yes, the Electoral College can also be manipulated by the electors not going with the voters' will. In some cases, it can. There are some things in place in certain states that kind of bind the electors to how they were supposed to vote, where electors are bound by how they were selected, and other places where they're not. Of course, I don't know how much they would enforce those rules on the electors, but we'll see. Burn that bridge when we get there, as I like to say. Hey, Elizabeth, what's going on? Trucker John, if Trump is off the ballot, how does he win an electoral vote? Well, that's the thing. Trump is technically not on in the primary. The Colorado Supreme Court said Trump can't be on the primary ballot. So what the Colorado GOP is trying to do is now they're trying to turn it into a caucus. So it's not a vote. So you're not having a ballot run by the state. You're having a caucus run by the party. So then the party runs the caucus. The party then says, okay, here's the caucus where we are now choosing Donald Trump as the person who's going to get our delegates to the convention via the caucus system instead of the primary system. And then they go to the convention, they pick Donald Trump as the nominee, and then since Donald Trump is the nominee, when it comes time for the election, when people in Colorado vote, again, they're not voting for Donald Trump, they're voting for the electors who would then vote for Donald Trump. So that's what I'm wondering. If the Supreme Court would rule that the Supreme Court of Colorado cannot keep the electors of Donald Trump off the ballot, because there's a difference between keeping a congressional candidate off the ballot who is an insurrectionist versus keeping the electors from the Electoral College off the ballot who might then go vote for Donald Trump in the Electoral College. And then I don't think that Trump is going to win Colorado anyway. So that doesn't necessarily, like, if Biden wins Colorado, when Biden wins Colorado and Trump's not on the ballot in Colorado, doesn't matter. It's like Trump being held off the ballot in Texas would be a big deal. Trump not being on the ballot in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Florida, for that matter, would be a big deal. Those would be huge. But Trump not being on the ballot in Colorado, which is most likely going for Biden anyway, not as huge of a deal as people are making it. And again, I fully believe, even if the Supreme Court doesn't go the route that I'm predicting and say, hey, you're voting for electors, therefore this presidents are different, so therefore we don't agree with your whatchamacallit. Even if they don't go that route, I still don't think they're going to uphold the Supreme Court ruling of Colorado. I still think they'll overturn it. I still think that they're going to do something. It'll be at least a 5-4 ruling that says shenanigans, and Trump gets to be on the ballot anyway. So, has anyone heard what Boebert said about this? Jeff says, I don't know. Was it something about a huge caucus? I don't know. Did I steal your line, Jeff? I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Tom. I mean, it is Colorado, right? She enjoys... Did she take Trump to the theater this time? She might have a harder time finding it in the dark if she did take Trump to the theater. I knew. But even though we can't have Blog Talk Radio because we can't have nice things, we do have a Hypocrite of the Week that I made, and we could just play it directly from the computer.
This week's Hypocrite of the Week is former New Jersey Governor and 2024 primary loser Christie. All campaign, Governor Christie has been talking about how Donald Trump is a criminal, how he will be ineligible to even vote for himself, etc. He has made the case of why Trump is a criminal and shouldn't be serving in office, but now that the Colorado Supreme Court has ruled him off the ballot, Christie says that the people, not the courts, should determine if Trump should be president. Not only is Christie a hypocrite, he is spineless too. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in to Liberal Land Radio, talk from the left, that's right, Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central, and Liberal Land Radio on YouTube and blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan.
I felt like the micro machine guy making that Hypocrite of the Week because, I had to, put in a lot of words there. I have a lot of words, the best words. Nobody has better words. But, I mean, Christie was sitting here and like all the clips that you see that he tries and, in all of these, all of these debates that he's managed to make, barely. He'll sit here and he'll chide and he'll criticize the other candidates for not standing up to Trump, and he's the only one who's going to stand up to Trump, and now he's going to be like, well, I don't think the court should kick him off the ballot. I think that the people should. No! If he's a criminal, if he's an insurrectionist, the courts have absolutely every authority to do what they're doing. Or they should, until the Supreme Court says, F off. But... like another spineless, gutless Republican running for president. Well, running to lose the presidency. And I can't even say that he's running for vice president because there are several people who are on that dais from the beginning who were clearly running to potentially be vice president, like maybe Tim Scott, maybe Vivek Ramaswamy. I think those people were positioning themselves to either be vice president and or maybe be in the cabinet and have some sort of position in the Trump administration. But Christie's not running for any of that. Not at all. So he's not trying to kiss his butt, but now he's trying to be all like, oh, I think the people should decide. Well, Donald Trump doesn't think the people should decide. Donald Trump thinks that he should decide for the people because he wanted to find votes or take voting machines or lose votes or what have you. So no, screw Donald Trump, screw you, Christie. He's a pretend tough guy. he wants to pretend to be a tough guy, but at the end of the day, he's just another Republican coward who does not have the spine to stand up to Donald Trump and his minions. Because, I mean, he understands that if he can't win without their support. So, it's a big hook. All the Republicans are aware that they're running for the primary. I think some Republicans are there. Like, some people might be there. I think Vivek Ramaswamy is running for two reasons. I think he's running to try and be vice president if Donald Trump is still able to be president. But maybe thinking that, he's also trying to be the MAGA guy if for some reason there's some legal way that Donald Trump can't be president. I don't think this is the way that happens. I think what's more likely is if Georgia gets him, if he gets convicted in Georgia, and then something happens to her, okay, you're convicted in Georgia now, and now you're sitting in prison, can you be president from prison? That's the constitutional crisis that I'm awaiting. But yeah, cabinet positioning, except for Christie, he's not running for cabinet positioning. Nikki Haley is not running for cabinet positioning either. Those two are not and Governor DeSantis, the sanctimonious, so to speak. All three of those are not running they're not running to be in the cabinet. I think DeSantis may very well be thinking something to the effect of, I'm going to run now, and maybe he's purposely running a bad campaign because he's like, I'm going to run now, I know I'm going to lose, and then Donald Trump's going to lose, and I'm going to tell you, see, you should have voted for me because Donald Trump is a horrible candidate. Again, he lost to Biden again. This is why you need me. And then they'll be like, oh, well, maybe we do need DeSantis. Maybe DeSantis was right. Out MAGA the MAGA, I suppose. I don't know. It's ridiculoso. Muy ridiculoso. Because Vivek wants to be a bio-billionaire and probably Food and Drug Administration. Vivek Ramaswamy, this is another thing that doesn't get enough play. Let me pull this. No, hold on. Not yet. Again, I want to bring this up again. Because it's very important. It's very important to bring up. Because again, my freaking pain. I was able to see this one earlier. Vivek Ramaswamy senior thesis. Am I able to do it this way? Is this link better, or is this going to still give me the crap? No, it's going to still give me the crap. Do. So we have to just go to the Harvard Magazine Seniors of Note. And go to here. Do. Where is the topic of the senior thesis? There we go. There it is, right here. So, one of the things, again, that does not get talked about enough about Vivek Ramaswamy is the fact that he did his senior thesis on Man Bear Pig. I kid you not. If you've watched South Park, you know what man, bear, pig is. If you haven't watched South Park, Google man, bear, pig, or go look on YouTube and find man, bear, pig. It's basically kind of making fun of Al Gore and threatening us about the environment, but in South Park, instead of Al Gore warning us about the threat that we face from the environmental threats, it's Al Gore warning us about the threat of man, bear, pig, which is a human-animal chimera. It's a crossbreed of man, bear, pig is half man, half bear, half pig. Man, bear, pig. How do you get 3 halves? Well, leave that to Matt and Trey. But Harvard Magazine, his academic interests are equally unusual, linking his concentration in molecular and cellular biology with his passion for politics. He wrote a senior thesis on the bioethical issues associated with the creation of human-animal chimeras, living organisms currently being crafted from the cells of human and animals. I was shocked to see the sparse degree to which this has been investigated from an ethical perspective, he reports. In proposing a thesis that bridged the gap between ethics and biology, he moved into uncharted territory in Harvard's biology departments, but not in his own experience. Many times in policy discussions, there's the impression that these social science issues are less rigorous than scientific issues, but I want to bring this scientific inquiry to ethical questions as well. He did a senior thesis on man, bear, pig. I can't take anybody for president seriously if you did your senior thesis on man, bear, pig. Stop it. Not enough people are talking about man, bear, pig and how Vivek Ramaswamy did a senior thesis on man, bear, pig. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Jeff Curry, maybe I'm forgetting, but which side has always harped about states' rights? Seems to me that would be the conservative side, which has always harped about state rights. The myth of states' rights, I should add, because because states' rights not really a thing, but it's the myth of states' rights that conservatives often talk about. And you would typically argue, but then again, conservatism, in order to be a conservative, hypocrisy is a prerequisite, right? Because states have the rights to run their own elections, and back in the year 2000, the state of Florida had rules that said that candidate Gore could ask for a recount. Candidate Gore could do a protest and then could do a contest phase, and could do all this stuff, and the courts were following the laws of Florida. But the Supreme Court decided, oh no, this would be unfair to George W. Bush and his 14th Amendment rights. But only for George W. Bush, only a narrow ruling, blah, blah, blah. Screw you, Al Gore. Bush is president. One of the things about Sandra Day O'Connor that, But, yeah, so conservatives love states' rights, in quotes. They love the 10th Amendment until they don't. Conservatives will love the Constitution until they don't. They love gun rights until they don't. They'll love to talk about the freedom that people should be able to have to walk around and constitutional carry unless you're black. Then they'll love stop and frisk. They'll love the idea that states should be able to be little labs of democracy where you could try out different things, but not if you're going to do things like, if a state wanted to allow non-citizens to vote in elections. Well, that's not okay. Or if they wanted to allow non-citizens to get driver's licenses, or undocumented immigrants or undocumented migrants to have a driver's license so that they could get insurance, even if the driver's license would look different so that they couldn't be used for a voting ID, or if it would say specifically cannot be used for a voter ID. They're still like, we can't let them have that because they'll still use it to vote, even though they can't. Because again, conservatives will say that states have the authority to do the things that states should be able to do under the 10th Amendment until they don't. Also, as we heard when the other individual I was talking to on the phone when Gibson Media called in from his show, it's the other way around too. Is that they hate the 10th Amendment, is they want to give states more authority than they have. With the whole case that we're hearing about with Texas trying to pass, HB4 or SB4 is it? Where they're trying to give the authority to police officers and judges to be able to yeet people who they think are undocumented immigrants from their state. Well, I mean, I've said on this podcast many times before that states don't have the authority to enforce border policy because those are things that are granted to the federal government by the Constitution, and as such, they're not powers obtained by the states via the 10th Amendment. But there's Supreme Court precedent that also states that only the federal government has the authority to act in enforcing immigration rules, which is why the idea is that Texas should be able to not have their little barbed wire fences and berms taken down, or inflatable berms taken down, is absurd. They should our U.S. federal military and or other people who are in charge over there on the border should absolutely be able to take down any state erected thing on the border, because it is not the state's job to enforce the border policies. I'm sorry, Suzanne, that everybody treats you like crap. I did say that we're your family now, right, Suzanne? See, flip-flopping Republican hypocrites, heads I win, tails you lose, Republican logic and rules. Exactly. Exactamundo, as Fonzie would say. We're all little Fonzies. We're all cool, right? Hashtag Team Suzanne. Trying to scroll up to see what I missed. Did I see TV2 come in? If I hit it in hello TV2. Failed Brooks. What am I missing? Oh, Vivek pulled the pump. Oh, Vivek pulled the pump and dump with the help of his mother. Nice. Lovely. Of course he is. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he? Anyway, let's see. Let's do the let's do the rant, shall we? I've wanted to do this rant all day because, once I heard the news talking about it, I was like, and again, we have actually, before we do the rant, I do have to bring up the article, because the article's Fox. It's a Fox News article, and it's a Fox News article that helps my rant. Fox News, Trump, oil, OPEC, Russia. And we have talked about this before, but we are going to talk about it again because we're going to talk about it again. Let's pull up the right part. Where is it? Right there. So it's right at the top. Perfect. I remember the song Taking Care of Business by BTO. And working overtime, work out. How are your watch hours? My watch hours, according to, again, we talked about this a little earlier, but as a brief synopsis of my watch hours, according to the page where I click the button to allow myself to be a partner, I'm 40 hours away. According to the analytics page, I'm there. But the page where I click the button is the important page. And apparently, according to some of my research, that page may update like 2 or 3 days late. And literally, when I checked the page that 30 minutes before the show, the page was the page showing that I was, 40 hours away? I was showing I was like 87 hours away. So, I gained a bunch of hours in 30 minutes. I don't know. But, so it counted some up real quick, but it didn't count enough up real quick, I guess. So we don't necessarily know rhymes or reasons as to when it updates, when it doesn't update, and how it decides why it decides to have the analytics page be live whilst the other pages, while the button page is not live. But yes, progress is good, and as Aaron said, patience, grasshopper. So in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there, and the reason we'll get there is because of y'all, and y'all are awesome. I'm fully confident that we will get there because of y'all, because y'all are doing great. Y'all are doing awesome. I mean, I was averaging around like 250 something, almost 300 maybe an hour, hours a month. We're almost at 500 hours of watch time a month now, which is great. That's what I need. That's what I will need to have to get 4,000. If we do that for 12 months in a row, I'll be at 4,000 at least, which will mean that once we get to 1,000 subs, we'll be good for the big partner, not just the little partner. But as of right now, we're still 40 hours away. I was gonna say, did it update again yet? Nope, it did not update again. I was hoping I could go back and check and see if it updated again to be like, oh yay, it's another half hour ago. It's half an hour away from the last time we checked. Let's check again. No, it's not there yet. So, let's see. Big hook. Everyone's family is dysfunctional. We're all just survivors of bad parenting passed down generosity. Unfortunately, some people's families are more dysfunctional than others. Let's see. Suzanne, my sister-in-law inappropriately touching her son at Thanksgiving and no one said anything. Weird. That's awesome. That was awful. I'm sorry. That is absolute. I read Jackie's comment, Jeff, that's so cool, and something else, and that's so it's all awesome instead of awful. That is terrible. That's terrible. Nobody should be touching him. I'm very big, again, consent, very big here on Liberal Lane Radio, and like I've told my kids repeatedly, if you don't want to hug somebody, you don't have to hug them. I don't care who they are in the family. If they're us, if they're your grandparents, if they're any other family member or anybody else, like, you don't have to hug them, you don't have to kiss them, whatever. If you feel like being alone and not being touched, that's your right to do so. Too many times, families will like, oh, go give your whatever a hug. No, you don't have to give anybody a hug if you don't feel like giving anybody a hug. That's how you teach kids about consent, especially young boys. Now, sometimes it's frustrating because Thomas really wants hugs from his brother, and sometimes his brother doesn't want to give hugs, so I have to constantly remind him, if he doesn't want to give you a hug, you don't give him a hug. And that's the end of it. But we reinforce that now, so I don't have to worry about it later. So, yes, respecting boundaries is paramount. So here we go. Let's do this rant. Should I put on the well, I can't do the other one because I need to see this. So let's flip over here. Actually, let's flip back. Let's start here first. Indecision's a terrible thing, isn't it? Anyway. So since I'm not taking phone calls, I don't even need to have this on. I can just have this off and just do it without my headsets right now because I don't really need to hear anything because I'm not taking phone calls. So I don't even need my headset on today. Boom.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. I just can see that it played and know that it played. So there you go. Anyway. Wait, I think I missed that Suzanne is having a home issue. Let's deal with that for a second before we get into my rant. Well, I think I missed something earlier on in the chat. Let's roll back. Let's see. Suzanne says more of you to love and appreciate. Well, thank you. My family just told me at Thanksgiving for calling them out. They're all sick. I had seen that about being disowned on one of the things. But I wasn't sure. Let's see. Oh, I see. You're homeless. Oh, I'm very sorry, Suzanne. I'm very sorry to hear that you're homeless. Is there... And where are you at, Suzanne? And is there any way, do you know of any way to set up a GoFundMe that we can, set up? Because I know we help P-dubs with a GoFundMe. We could probably set up a GoFundMe and maybe try and help you a little bit as well. Maybe try and get some money, your way. Because we could probably get a GoFundMe set up to try and help. Yeah, Suzanne, it is gross, and I've said in the show that I was as well. So, and it took a while for me to talk about it, because I was always afraid that if I talked about it and I said it, that people would be like, well, if you did it, then maybe you'll do it too, because there is this myth, this belief that people who do molestation, or who are molested, become molesters. But that is also false. That is a falsehood that is spread typically by people who are accused of molestation, who will say, well, I was molested too, to try and falsely gain sympathy for themselves. And by falsely gaining sympathy for themselves, they help to perpetuate this falsehood that you're any more likely to become somebody who will molest kids simply because you were molested as a kid. In reality, the data doesn't show that. The data shows that you're just as likely to molest if you were molested as if you were not. So that there's no impact there. There's no there. So yeah, and it's one of the reasons. It's one of the, like, during the show that I had, as we've discussed before, and I don't know how many of y'all were there, but during the show, where I discussed that's why during the show where I discussed my life as an obese person, I brought up that there is a strong correlation between a morbid obesity and childhood abuse, but I did not bring up my correlation, and that's maybe that explains my obesity. But then once I learned that the falsehood is a falsehood, I then said and made another discussion about it and said, okay, I'm coming forward with this now, and I'm saying, here is my truth and my reality about it, and here's the reason why I didn't bring it up in that show, and this is why I'm bringing it up now, so that more people can understand, because it's important for people to understand this, because people will be abusive to people online simply for being fat. It's one of the reasons why I have Fat Man Rants, is because people come onto my videos and be like, oh, you're fat. And by wearing the fatness as a suit of armor, by doing a Fat Man Rant, I came up with the Fat Man Rant before I even saw Game of Thrones. I came up with the Fat Man Rant and decided to wear my fatness as a suit of armor before Tyrion Lannister ever said, wear it as a suit of armor so the world can't use it to harm you. But I agree. Anything that people see as a flaw, embrace it. Double down on it. Yeah, I am. So what? And so they can't come on those videos, or really any other videos, and be like, oh, you're fat. I'm like, well, really? Is that why I have a video series called Fat Man Rants? Right? So, in the Houston area, I would think that there would be lots of potential shelters to go to in the Houston area. The big hook. We all medicate ourselves to different means, some drugs, some food. And well, that's the thing, though. One of the things that I've said is that when you are a young kid, you often don't have the access to like the drugs or the alcohol that maybe an older person medicating themselves would do, but you do have access to like the sugary sweets and the soft drinks and everything like that. And so you'll self-medicate that way. Furthermore, when it comes to young women, or people who are femme presenting, who are being abused like that, those people may very well think to themselves consciously that I'm going to gain weight and eat a bunch of food, so therefore I'll be less attractive to my abuser and they'll be less likely to abuse me. And so that's why that happens as well. So, and it's sad, but it's true. What's going on, henchman? Good to see you. Let's see. I got 18 viewers and 22 likes, so we have more viewers than likes. So hey, there we go. Let's see, 31 views and 33 minutes average view duration, which means we're at about 15 hours of the 40 so far. So we need to keep on trucking. But we're going to do a Fat Man rant now. We're going to switch gears to do the Fat Man rant. And I'm going to start off by, first of all, again, if you're new to the channel, I always end these recording where I record something live. I always end it with, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a good night. But I'm not stopping this video, so just know that. And second of all, at the beginning, I'm planning on berating people a little bit for if you're not sharing this video, you're not doing your job to helping Trump not get elected. By sharing it to other fellow liberals, leftists, progressives, etc., especially those whining about stuff. Y'all are doing your job. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other people who y'all might share the video with, to get them to maybe share the video out, using a little tough love. So, because I think we need a little tough love with some of these people who are being whiny little bitches about things. So, anyway, Jeff, I wish I could gain weight. You're welcome to any of mine. I wish I could donate it freely to you. Tim, I pledge to wear my opinionated, mouthy nature as a suit of armor. And Elizabeth, I am also concerned about that. And I thought there was a cat coming in, but it's a Henry coming in. I'm also concerned about that, and maybe towards the end, or towards maybe after I do the rant, maybe we'll do something, and we'll maybe look up ideas of maybe where whatchamacallits can look. Where, I guess I would have to ask, where, Suzanne, in Houston are you? Because Houston's big. Like when I evacuated for Katrina, I evacuated, and I was kind of like on the west side of Houston. West side. I was on the west side of Houston area. I forget the area was called, but it was definitely on the west side of what, so depending on where you are might depend on what you might have access to. Then again, somebody can always buy you an Uber gift card, and we could always chip in and get you an Uber gift card to get you wherever you need to go to. So there's that too, because we like to help fellow listeners, fellow watchers on here on Liberal Dan Radio, because y'all are important. Anyway. So anyway, now let's get, but we'll get back to that in a second. We do want to get Suzanne the help that she needs, but before I lose my train of thought, because my train of thought often gets derailed. Let's go ahead and get this done. All right, so for this Fat Man rant, I do want to start off with this and say something that if you're not sharing this video with your fellow leftists, progressives, liberals, or even centrists who maybe voted for Biden last time but are questioning whether or not to vote for Biden for whatever reasons, especially if they're bringing up things like gas prices or whatever, you're not doing your job, because you need to be sharing stuff like this, because the regular media is not doing their job fact checking and actually spreading facts about why things are going on and why they're happening. Earlier today, I was watching the news, and somebody said something about how gas prices are getting lower for the holidays, but then somebody else came on, and why isn't Biden talking about gas prices being lower for the holidays? And the answer that the other person gave was, well, they're not talking about that because gas prices are still higher than when Biden took office. And I'm like, well, why is that? Why were gas prices low when Biden took office? And then why did gas prices skyrocket after Biden took office? Explain those two things to voters, and maybe, some of them, especially the people on the left who understand, science and math and how things work in the world, might understand that it wasn't Biden's fault at all. And in fact, it was Trump's fault. Case in point, in the pandemic, we were staying home a lot more, so therefore demand for gasoline and oil plummeted. If you remember, during the pandemic, oil was selling for negative prices a barrel because they didn't know what to do with it, so they were paying people to take oil. Because they were producing so much oil, the market was bottoming out. And so Trump decided that he had to do something about it, and he did something about it. The problem is how he did something about it, which is what caused the problem. According to this Fox Business website, so none of y'all conservatives who are watching can say I'm going to some liberal lefty news site. Fox Business. Trump plays key role in brokering historic oil deal. April 13th, 2020. So he's still president. Maybe he's seeing numbers showing that he's going to lose. I don't know. He plays key oil deal. The deal reached with so-called OPEC Plus group, which ends the price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, reduces the global output by 9.7 million barrels a day in May and June, helping to ease a global cut exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Production will also be reduced by 8 million barrels per day from July through December, and 6 million barrels per day from January 2021 through April of 2022. What happened in January 2021? Biden became president. So from January 2021 to April of 2022, Donald Trump signed a deal before that with other countries to artificially restrict the output of oil without taking into consideration anything about increased demand for coming out of the pandemic, for increased demand when people started getting back to their normal lives. The so-called art of the deal guy made this deal, which in reality helped Putin, helped OPEC, helped his big oil cronies, but it didn't help you and me. And in reality, because he made this deal and extended it all the way through 2022 and didn't have any caveats for what happens when consumer demand increase, what happens when demand spikes, but you artificially restrict supply, the price goes through the frickin' roof. And nobody on the news is talking about this. They're just trying to say, well, people are upset at Biden because they're paying higher gas prices. They're paying higher gas prices because Trump negotiated a horrible deal that hurt American consumers. So the next time you hear somebody complaining about the high price of gas, how gas was cheaper during the Trump administration, and how Biden hasn't done anything to fix it, well, that's because Trump made a big deal. Share this video with them and let them know why gasoline went so high, why gasoline skyrocketed, and whose fault it is, and do you want that guy back in charge again? What do you think? Agree, disagree? Put your comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and have a good day. Anywho, that is my Fat Man rant. That will be uploaded and be available live probably around 9ish tomorrow morning or so. So, but yeah, it's absolutely just, whenever I hear people on the news, like, just saying things like that, like, well, they're upset because the gas prices are so high. Well, they're, but they don't tell, they're not telling you why purposefully, or they're not telling you why because they haven't done the work. Who does the work? People like me, people like Hal, people like other, good podcasters and other people who do the legwork, who will research the stuff, who will go that next level and explain to people why the things are happening the way that they're happening. And not just the surface level stuff. And sure, there may be some people who can only handle the surface level stuff, but it's not that much of an explanation to be like, why are you paying gas prices? Because Trump made a bad deal. The gas prices you're paying that are higher than what they were in the pandemic when they tanked is because Trump made a bad deal, and that's why prices went through the roof. You wanted to explain it why, they can sit and explain why and hear why. But it's not Biden's fault. Absolutely not. And look, and I'm not going to be someone who sits here and never blames Biden for anything. If Biden does something wrong, I will say Biden did something wrong. Because you don't get an honest delivery of the news. You don't get an honest view of what's going on in the world if you can't criticize your own side. But I'm going to be damned if I'm going to sit here and and just watch the media just completely fumble that football and not sit here and be like, what are you doing? You are not explaining the situation properly. Because again, is it truthful that gasoline went up at the beginning of the Biden administration? Yes. Is it truthful that even though the gas prices are down now, that they're still higher than the start of the Biden administration? Yes. But then go on and explain why. And they don't. Because they don't, it's irresponsible. See, Dan, they're living in a different reality. But here's the thing, it's like the conservatives I'm not necessarily worried about in this case. It's the people who are like, like people in Wisconsin who were interviewed on the news who are like, I don't know if I could vote for Biden again. I voted for Biden before. I don't know if I could do it again. Because you want Trump? Did you forget the 4 years under Trump? And if there are also things that people don't realize that happened under Trump, like this gas thing. Like, if you're complaining that gasoline prices are high, blame the right person. And the media has an absolute responsibility to tell the whole story and not just part of the story. That's why I'm here. And that's why Tara Dublin says, this is the best podcast that you're not watching. Well, you're watching, but many people are not watching. But with your help, we're all going to change that. One viewer at a time. And we've actually been doing well on subscribers too. We've jumped up like 20 something in the last month. And I haven't even been focusing on that. I haven't even been focusing on telling people, I say like and subscribe, but my focus has more been on views than subscriptions to hit that level. But, I've actually been, it's been ticking up a little bit more, which is good. Let's see. It will be easier to defeat Project 2025 in November 2024. Then it'll have to take back our country. Exactly. And yes, Tara does freaking rock. And I'll have her back on the show at some point soon. So, she has an open invitation. She can come on whenever she wants. She just can't call in today because, well, Blog Talk Radio sucks at the moment. But we could do a video chat, whatever. But here's the thing. I'll most likely probably be investing in some sort of better technology once I become partner, which will A, allow me to stream to multiple places, and B, will probably include some better technology that will allow me to also take in better video chat stuff so I can do better video chats and have other nicer tools. So it's so funny. Every single time during the drive, when I was doing my special drive episode, it's still available, you can watch it, but every single time I did like this, like my wife just started cracking up hysterically, and then which made me want to do it again because I like hearing her laugh. Dan, how many drinks you got there? It's just 2, and they're both water. I'm just keeping hydrated. I have an Ant-Man and the Wasp cup, and shocking, I have a Mickey Mouse cup. But they're both just water, so I just made sure to stay well hydrated for the show because I wanted to keep my whistle wet. But yes, Jolie, good time to do a show reset. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from left, that's right. LiberalDanRadio.com brings you to the YouTube channel. Has anybody had a problem actually going to LiberalDanRadio.com? Because I actually tried to do it on Google once, and it told me that it couldn't go because of some certificate issue or something. So let me know if you're having an issue with that. I'll try and fix that. Otherwise, it's youtube.com/LiberalDanRadio. I'm also Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, everything. Hey, Alarasia. And whatchamacallit. And the Twitch thing is also trying to, once we hit partner here, I'll be looking into streaming also on Twitch, which will mean that I will need to have 50 followers on Twitch in order to become a Twitch affiliate. And once I become a Twitch affiliate, I'm a Twitch affiliate. You don't lose that. So, but I need 50 followers on twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio. So if y'all can help me with that too, that'd be awesome. Because, you know, that's just another possible way to get a revenue stream. So, see, Robert, how long have you had your podcast? I've been doing it for like 12 years now. It hasn't been on YouTube for 12 years. I've only been on YouTube for maybe like the past 3 or 4-ish. Maybe right at the start of the pandemic, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later. I forget exactly when I first did the simulcast on both YouTube and on Blog Talk Radio. But I started the podcast on Blog Talk Radio like 12 years ago. And at the very beginning, it was like, I mean, like I had like the Louisiana Democratic Party did a little bit of sponsoring of me. That went away a while ago. I had like a Your Week in Geek little commercials that I would do talking about like a weekly thing from a website called Cool Mini or Not, which I don't know if they're still around anymore, but the guy who I would do the interviews with, he no longer works there. Yeah, I've been doing it a good long bit, and so I think some of those older episodes got lost in the ether. I don't know what happened on Blog Talk Radio, but some of them just went bye. And you know, I've had some, like there was one episode that I can't load up. It had if you've ever watched the LuLaRoe documentary, it has Jill Filipovich on it, and Jill Filipovich. Hey Robert, thank you for buying me a cider. Appreciate you. I guess that's the reason why I should have my headphones on, because if I wasn't looking at the screen, I wouldn't have heard it. So, but thank you for buying me the cider, Robert. Awesome. Appreciate you. You can do that by either going to buymeacoffee.com/LiberalDanRadio, or you can go to liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me Cider button. Or you can also Venmo me, LiberalDan at Venmo. Thank you for keeping me hydrated. Robert, third show you've seen so far. Well, I'm glad you're here for the third, and I hope you're here for the 300. Tim Farrell, can't you buy fake subscribers? I don't need fake. I don't need the subscribers at the moment. I got the subscribers to become partner. I just need the views. I just need the hours watched at this point. Once I hit that 3,000 hours for the last rolling 365 day average, once that gets hit, I can get super chats, I can get memberships, I can have a link to a store if I feel like having a link to a store. Now, once I get to 1,000 subs, I can then get the ad revenue as well. But I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be like Russell Brand. I don't want to be like those people. I don't want to take the angel dust, as Russell Brand might say, as he says, angel dust. So I was watching, what was it? Some movie that Russell Brand was in, and he was talking about drugs or whatever, and I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm just waiting for him to say angel dust, and then like 2 seconds later he said it, and I was like, yes, I was right. Thank you, Tim. I know, but what kind of steak you gonna make, Jeff? Type slowly. Anywho, and of course they're still experiencing issues with their broadcast system. Get what you pay for, right? I'm not paying for Blog Talk Radio, and there's still that bug in that system where I haven't been paying it forever, so, which is nice, but I'm not complaining about it because I don't want it to cause too much of a fuss. Let's see, I'm loading this page. Come on, page, load. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate you. Oh, still at 40 hours left to go. I just wanted to see if maybe the update time is about 8. Maybe 8 p.m. is when it updates. Maybe that's the update time. Mostly raw. What cut of steak, Jeff? That's what I was asking. What cut of steak? Are we going to get to the silly part of the show early? Although I may have to put the headphones on because there is one thing I wanted to... Nice. My son, everyone. Just playing some Fortnite in the background. Quietly, I might add, which is good. Let's see. I want to look up... What's his face? Because I think this might be a good time to look up this guy's channel again, just to see so I want to turn that off too, just to see if he has any ranting videos about what just happened. Yeah, he has one from yesterday. So, Jolie, stop checking it so much. Yeah, if watch pot doesn't boil, right? All right. So we haven't done these reactions in a while. So hold on. We're gonna skip this ad. Let's see. Let's pop that open. We're going to do that. And we're gonna go to the alternate. Truth is the new hate speech. Ha ha ha. Let's see. Earlier tonight we did discuss the Colorado decision, and we should go back to discussing because there was interesting stuff that came up when it came to some news about Clarence Thomas and corruption within the Supreme Court. So we should remind me to talk about that once we do a reaction to this. But I want to do a reaction. I haven't done a reaction to Josh Bernstein in a while, so I want to do a reaction to Josh Bernstein because it's been a minute, and I'm sure he's angry. I'm sure he's very angry about what happened with the Supreme Court in Colorado, and well, we've got to see what he says. I haven't even watched this, so I don't even know. I didn't even know that he had one. I just assumed he had one. So let's see. So we're just going to start recording and do another one for Josh Bernstein Watch. I should have like a graphic with like a picture of him with like fire coming out of his ears because he's always so angry. It's worse than my fat man rants.
Josh Bernstein show are solely those of the host and do not reflect those of any building. And they still...
Welcome back to the program. So the Communist News Network, MSLSD, ABC, NBC, CBS, pretty much all of them are literally wetting themselves, okay? They are so excited because they actually think that somehow President Trump is going to be barred from being able to compete in the state of Colorado.
I mean, sure. I mean, as I've said, when I talked about this a little earlier, I did say that I think everybody is getting a little bit too excited about this. I think that the Supreme Court is going to overturn this ruling. So I do think people are being a little counting some chickens before they hatch, so to speak.
Or any state for that matter, okay? So the 4-3 decision today by the radical extremist Democrats, let's face it.
Of course, the ruling that's going to come from the Supreme Court is going to be radical extremist conservatives, but let's continue.
Basically said that the people of Colorado, you don't have a choice in who you want to choose for president because we're not even going to allow President Trump to be on the ballot. And oh, by the way, these arrogant bastards even tried to say that you're not even allowed to write in his name.
Oh, no. Like, there are a lot of reasons why people might not be able to vote for the people that they want to vote for many different reasons. People don't always have the right to vote for people simply because people don't always have the right to be on the ballot. That's nothing new. There are felons who can't be on the ballot because they're felons. There are other people who can't be on the ballot for various other reasons. People might want to vote for Cenk Uygur for president, but Cenk Uygur can't be president because he's not a natural-born citizen. It's not a matter of letting the people vote for who they want to vote for. He can't be president because he's not a natural-born citizen. And I'm sure you would agree with me on that one, Mr. Bernstein, on that particular issue. But,
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald.
Well, the first thing I will say to the Colorado Supreme Court is sit on this and rotate, okay?
Well, I mean, if you're not that worried about them, then what are you concerned about? Why are you so angry? If you know that the Supreme Court's going to overturn it, then why so angry? If you know that this activist ruling is going to be overturned by the Supreme Court, then what's the big deal? Why rant and rave about it?
Because Trump, as he was in 2016, which I rightfully predicted he would be, was on every single ballot. In 2020, they tried this nonsense once again, and I said once again, President Trump will be on every...
Ooh, what a shocking development. You were right that a person who was the nominee of the Republican Party was on every ballot. Ooh, how smart you are. What a great prognosticator you are.
Single ballot. And yes, in 2024, President Trump will be on every single ballot.
Maybe, but again, whoever the Republican nominee is probably going to be on every single ballot. Probably going to be Trump because the Republican Party either picks Trump and doesn't lose the MAGA vote, or doesn't pick Trump and loses the MAGA vote. They're screwed either way.
But don't take my word for it, even though I've been right every single time that I have predicted that.
Okay, predicted that. Okay, fine.
Jonathan Turley has just come out today and said the Supreme Court is going to, quote, make short work of overturning the Colorado decision. But we'll get into that a little bit more.
And of course, other pundits are saying that the Supreme Court is not going to overturn the decision because the Supreme Court already has an issue where people are questioning the Supreme Court's relevancy and questioning whether or not the Supreme Court is a worthwhile organization and whether or not they're, questioning the rulings that they've done previously. And so does the Roberts Court tread more lightly here? Does the Roberts Court make the argument that states should be able to determine whether or not states run their own elections? But one thing I didn't cover earlier that maybe I could also add to my prediction. My prediction on this, again, as I said earlier, was that the Supreme Court could very well make the argument that when you're electing a president, you don't vote for the president, you vote for the electors, so therefore you can't take the electors off the ballot because the electors aren't the ones who are being charged with an insurrection, so therefore it's different than barring a congressperson from the ballot. That's one of the things I said. But then again, the other thing is that when the conservative hypocrites and activists on the Supreme Court were making the decisions on what rules to keep and what rules not to keep in the 2020 elections, the rules that they tossed were the rules that were made by the Supreme Courts. The rules that they kept were the rules that were made by the legislatures. So if a legislator made a special rule dealing with COVID, for example, they said, okay, fine. But if the court made a ruling like extending voting or what have you, the Supreme Court was like, no, the courts can't do that. That's up to the legislatures. So one of the things that the court might say here is that while the states may very well have the authority to determine whether or not Donald Trump should be on the ballot, that would be up to the legislature to determine and not the courts. Now, I may disagree with that opinion because the court's job is to interpret the law. The law says people who committed acts of insurrection can't be on the ballot. Therefore, let's interpret who committed insurrection. Boom, there you go, done. But I'm just saying that there could be another potential argument that comes from the Supreme Court in saying that if you follow what they've done previously when it comes to Trump specifically and elections dealing with Trump, if a Supreme Court makes a ruling affecting an election, this Supreme Court, or if a state Supreme Court makes a ruling affecting an election, this Supreme Court is more likely to overturn it. But if a state legislature did something pertaining to election, this Supreme Court might not overturn it, even if they might disagree with the action being done. So
of course, Team Trump, in what I would consider other than November 3rd, 2020, and January 6th, 2021, the biggest amount of, election interference we've ever seen.
What?
Team Trump issues fire response after the radical left Colorado Supreme Court disqualifies him from the 2024 ballot and vows an immediate U.S. Supreme Court appeal, which...
Ooh, shocking. The Trump's legal team said that they're going to appeal a ruling they disagree with. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Of course they will. Now, I'll give you the grounds on why this will be overturned, okay?
Which coffee grounds? What?
First of all,
Let's see if he actually agrees with me. This will be interesting if he agrees with me. That would be funny. I would be scared if he agrees with me.
In no violation of the 14th Amendment. Again, the 14th Amendment was for insurrection.
He committed insurrection. The Supreme Court of the lower court said that he was an insurrectionist, and the Supreme Court upheld that he was an insurrectionist, that he helped commit an insurrection. That is just a matter of an opinion, I guess. You don't think he was an insurrectionist. He clearly asked for and allowed for and tacitly approved of, by not doing anything except throwing ketchup on the wall, that insurrection that took place. So clearly we're not starting off from a moment of agreement on this, on his first point.
It was back in the Civil War days, and it's never...
And so just because it was not used since then, it's somehow can't be used again? That's silly.
Never been used, and again, President Trump has not been convicted.
Doesn't have to be according to the Supreme Court, of course. Maybe the federal Supreme Court will say something differently, but
It is what it is.
Of anything. That's number one. Number two, President Trump, just like every single innocent January 6er, has not been charged with U.S. Code 18-2383. Which is what? Say it loud and clear, folks. That's right.
What is up with his bling? What is up with his arm? Like, does he have like 2 or 3 watches on? Like, did he watch an episode of Friends and think like the bracelets that Joey got for Chandler were a good thing?
Insurrection. Oh, gee, but they're trying to say that he's an insurrectionist, But yet, they didn't even charge him with insurrection. Okay? So, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Language.
It's from left-wing, Soros-endorsed and funded groups.
Soros endorsed. Oh no, Soros endorsed. Here's the thing. Wait, hold on. Wrong hand. There you go. Jewish Pro-Life Foundation. So he's Bernstein. He said he was raised Jewish or born to Jewish parents. So I've had this discussion with him on Jeff's show before. But like self-hating. I mean, if you're bringing up the Soros argument, you're self-hating. If you're going to identify as a Jewish person.
Groups and organizations, one of which is known as the Citizens for Responsibility in Ethics crew, which is a far-left, radical, extremist group of Soros-appointed puppets.
Anybody who disagrees with Trump is a far-left extremist. I mean, I'm sure you think Nikki Haley and Christie are far-left extremist leftists at this point.
That run around and try to file these, lawsuits all over the place trying to get the one person that they know they can't beat unless, of course, they steal it from him.
I mean, they beat him in 2020, but...
off the ballots. So, let's see. They have previously filed numerous lawsuits, not just in Colorado, but in many, many other states as well. They did this in 2016. They did this in 2020. This is not new, okay? None of this is new. Now, what I understand
is not much.
As I'm reading this,
which I'm surprised you can do,
is that, number one, it'll never happen. They'll never take Trump off the ballot.
I mean, they did. I mean, they have a stay on it until the appeal's over with, but they already ruled that he's off the ballot. What's going to happen is potentially and likely is that the activist conservative Supreme Court will overturn this ruling in favor of Donald Trump. But we're not surprised at that.
It's already been shot down, I believe, in New Hampshire. It's been shot down in Michigan. It's been shot down all over the place.
And that doesn't mean it's not a valid legal argument to be made in Colorado, because according to conservative ideas, states run their own elections until we don't want them to.
By the way, a lot of this is stemming from one individual scumbag by the name...
You? Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Name of John Anthony Castro. John Anthony Castro is a fake Republican millennial scumbag.
Oh no, rhinos. Gotta use the rhino thing, the no true Scotsman fallacy. He can't be a Republican because he doesn't like Trump.
Who basically makes George Santos look like he tells the truth, okay? This guy has lied about his military career. He's lied about being at West Point. He's lied about being a lawyer. He's just a dirtbag.
So you should like him then.
Goes around and files lawsuits because obviously he can't compete because he's an actual Democrat. So he has
except he's a Republican.
Filed these lawsuits in pretty red states, by the way, as well. Let's see, there's a list of them here.
Colorado's not a pretty red state.
Where? He has filed in Wyoming. Okay, he has filed in Idaho. He's filing in Arizona.
Not a red state.
It's
purple.
He is filing in Utah, in Kansas, in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. If you've seen Dirty Rotten Scandals, you understand that reference.
Nevada, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So basically, this
North Carolina has a Democratic governor.
Scumbag is going around and
this guy, all he has is name calling. So, I mean, he's just like his idol Donald.
It is what it is.
He is filing these lawsuits because he works for the left. He's a fake Republican. He can't compete. He's a long shot. He's run for numerous offices and has lost big time every single time. And so, just another butthurt liberal scumbag.
Oh, butthurt. There we go. Let's mock anal rape for, add that to the anti-Semitism.
That can't hack it, so that's what he's doing. That's what he's trying to do anyway. But again, it's not going to work. It didn't work before.
We're not expecting it. I don't expect it to work, but you know.
And it won't work now. So the good news is that this will be expedited to the U.S. Supreme Court. It might even be a 9-0 decision, to be quite honest.
I doubt it's going to be a 9-0 decision. I'm sure it's going to be either 6-3 or 5-4. I'm sure that either the 3 liberal justices are going to say he clearly committed an insurrection, or you might even have Roberts, who might make some sort of other dissent that says that it's up to the states to run their own elections, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there'll be 5 who most likely makes one of the arguments that I've made.
But, you know, it might be 8-1, it might be 7-2, but
How does he think he's going to get one of the liberal justices? I think Sotomayor is going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to side with Trump this time.
I can assure you, Trump is going to be on the ballot. Now, here is what I'm worried about.
What are you worried about, Josh Bernstein? Tell us.
Let's say he wins, which he certainly will do. He wins the Supreme Court decision.
Does the video have an echo? Hold on. Let's see. What does the video? I don't know.
But all of a sudden, these left-wing dirtbags that are at the county recorder's offices, the state of election workers, that are all liberals and Democrats in a state like Colorado, which is a bright blue state for the most part because of Denver, what if they just go, oops, my bad. Oh, sorry about that. We just happen to leave President Trump off the ballot. That could happen, folks.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Because unlike Republicans, the Democrats will follow the law and will follow the ruling regardless of what the ruling is.
That could happen. Now, this bullshit about you can't write it in, yeah, sorry, Supreme Court of Colorado, you could write in anyone's name. You could write in Mickey Mouse's name. You could write in, you know, it doesn't matter whose name it is, okay? You can write in anyone's name, and that has to count. So this bullshit about,
no, Mickey Mouse's name would not count. It would not literally count. Literally.
Can't write Donald Trump's name in. Look, why don't you just face it? No one likes Biden. No one likes Democrats. No one
likes Biden, except he got how many more votes than Trump did? But no one likes Biden. Not one bit.
No one likes big government. We want freedom, and we're going to vote for freedom. And that's it. And that's the bottom line. So,
'cause Stone Cold said so. That's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. Ridiculous. He's trying to be like a mini Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. This is the biggest case of election interference there ever is. But I agree with Jonathan Turley. I agree with almost every single person that's already said that this will be overturned at the Supreme Court, because of course it will. Now, let's talk about this as well. So you may have heard a couple of days ago, and actually it doesn't go into effect, unfortunately, until this coming March.
Is there something else to talk about?
But Greg Abbott in Texas decided.
Oh, we get to hear his opinions on SB4 too, as well. SB4 as well, and respond to his misunderstanding of the Constitution.
To say, you know what? The federal government's not going to do the job, so the state of Texas is.
The state of Texas can't do the job because the state of Texas is barred from doing the job because the state of Texas does not have the authority to act on immigration enforcement, because that is the authority that is given to the federal government via the Constitution, and as such it is not something that is given to the federal government via the states, because as we all know, if you listen to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, and you see my show, you'll understand that the 10th Amendment says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, or reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Meaning that if it's given to the federal government by the Constitution, guess what? It's not a state power.
And he passed a rule, he passed a law, and signed it into law, which gives $1 billion more for border barriers. So they're going to build more barriers across the Rio Grande
that should not be considered to have the authority to make, because former Supreme Court precedent clearly states that the states can enforce border policies, and also the Constitution is very clear that the states can enforce border policies.
And now this will allow police officers to have arresting power to basically make it a state crime if you're an illegal alien in the state of Texas. So
again, that's not an authority that the state has, and so these people who claim to love the Constitution don't.
God bless Texas, number one, for doing this. But number two, of course the liberals and the ACLU, which actually stands for the Anti-Christian Lawyers Union, right?
That's not what it stands for. He's a liar.
Right? They're now filing lawsuits against Texas.
As well they should, because Texas doesn't have the authority to do this.
They think somehow they can stop this. Sorry, doesn't work like that.
Sorry. Yes, it does.
Okay? The bottom line is Texas is going to do what Texas has to do in order to protect their integrity and the border.
Texas doesn't have the authority to protect the border, Mr. Bernstein, because Texas is a state, and states don't have the authority to defend borders. That's the federal government's job by the Constitution that you supposedly love, but you don't.
I wish Arizona would do it. I wish New Mexico would do it.
But they can't. Why? Listen to what I said a few minutes ago.
Colorado would do it. Hell,
Colorado doesn't have a border with the... Are you freaking kidding me? That this idiot thinks that Colorado has a border and wants Colorado to enforce its border policies. What country does Colorado border, everybody? This is why Donald Trump, after the 2016 Nevada primary, said that he loves the poorly educated. Because he wants Colorado to defend their borders. Just when you thought I couldn't be surprised by anything these fools say more to just... I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting... Oh my God, ridiculous.
I wish Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota and some of the other northern states.
Let's stop those Canadians from coming in. You betcha. Don't you know? Yeah, they might cross the border by mistake and say sorry.
The Midwest would do it as well.
Aaron, Colorado borders China. My bad, you know. It must be those liberal schools that I went to that taught me otherwise.
But of course, they don't have the balls that Abbott does.
They don't have the balls to, enforce the national borders that Colorado does.
So Greg Abbott goes to the Rio Grande Valley and signs into law this bill, which is Senate Bill 3. It earmarks $1.54 billion in state money.
Oh, it's 3, not 4. I guess I was wrong on the bill. Maybe there's 3 and 4. I don't know. I thought it was 4. Whatever.
To continue construction of barriers along the 1,200-mile border, and allows the state to spend up to $40 million for state troopers to patrol Colony Ridge, a housing development near Houston that...
Look, police officers can patrol areas. That's fine. Police officers can arrest people for committing state crimes. That's fine. Police officers don't have the authority to enforce federal border policies.
Is a magnet for undocumented immigrants.
And if the person who commits a crime happens to be an undocumented immigrant, you can still arrest them for committing a crime, because undocumented immigrants are still subject to the jurisdiction of our laws.
The money will be...
Which is why children of undocumented immigrants are natural-born citizens. Which... Here... Well, I should hold on. Let's stop recording this. This is gonna be in 2 parts, because I gotta do this. I gotta do this. Oh, wait, no, that's not right. That's this. Republicans like Vivek Ramaswamy believe that the children of undocumented immigrants, of undocumented migrants, should not be considered to be natural-born citizens because those people who are crossing our border are not subject to our jurisdiction. But if that's the case, then how can these people then support these new Texas laws that claim that Texas has jurisdiction over these people to take action? If Texas has the jurisdiction to arrest these people, which they do if they violate a state crime, I'm not arguing that. They don't have the power to, enforce federal border policy because that's a federal law, and as such, it's not something that's, gotten by the states via the 10th Amendment. But if the state has the authority to make arrests for any undocumented migrant or undocumented immigrant or what have you who's committed a crime, they have that authority to do so. That means that those individuals are subject to this jurisdiction of the United States and to the states that they're in. And if they're subject to the jurisdiction that they're in, if they can be arrested and can be punished for crimes committed in the states that they're in, that means that any children born to them in this country are, dun-dun-dun, natural-born citizens. So all their support for these horrible laws that Texas just passed just blows up that other argument right in their faces. But here's the thing. They're too dumb, and they can't even understand that. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Added to at least $1.5 billion in contracts the state has issued since September of 2021 to build another 40 miles of border barrier. So this creates a state crime for illegally crossing the border from Mexico,
which you can't do.
And this new law is likely to force a legal showdown with the federal government.
Which it will, because the federal government is going to rightly say that Texas lacks the authority to do so. That's why the ACLU is bringing the lawsuit, because you can't do it.
That's okay. Go for it anyway, okay? What did Missouri do in 2021?
What is this going to be that has nothing to do with the topic at hand?
They said, you know what? We don't trust the Biden regime. We think
the Biden regime,
they're going to come after the Second Amendment. So you know what? We're going to be proactive, and we're going to make the state of Missouri a Second Amendment sanctuary state. That's what they did. And they basically said to law enforcement and local officials, do not under any circumstances abide by or follow federal...
Wait, do not abide by? What's abide?
Law. Okay? And guess what? Missouri is still in that capacity.
Was there any challenges made to that law? Has there been any challenges? I'm not exactly sure how this is at all relevant for them telling people that they're not... In fact, it's completely... Like, how... Oh my God. Like, Missouri is basically saying to their law enforcement, don't enforce federal law. Okay. So, that's fine. You don't have to enforce federal law. It's up to federal law enforcement to enforce federal law. Just like it's up to federal law enforcement to enforce border laws. So this is the exact opposite. This is a very bad analogy made by Josh. We shouldn't be surprised that it's a very bad analogy by Josh Bernstein, but it's a very bad analogy by Josh Bernstein. Oh my God. Like, it's mind-blowingly dumb. Let's continue.
And so that's what states have to do. Look,
that's what states have to do. Make laws that have nothing to do with this, and so he can make a bad point.
Who created the federal government?
We the people.
States created the federal government.
Sure, states created the federal government, and when states created the federal government, the states created the federal government and included the Bill of Rights. And inside the Bill of Rights, they added the 10th Amendment, which clearly states the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people, which means that if the states have given the federal government via the Constitution a power, that is not a power that the states have. So the states chose to give the authority to deal with border policies to the federal government and to not have that issue be on their own plate. Sorry, Josh. You don't understand the law. You don't understand the Constitution. You only use it as toilet paper, or maybe you use it to shine that all head of yours.
In my eyes, and in anyone that believes in states' rights,
no such thing as states' rights. States have powers. People have rights because, according to the 9th Amendment, the enumeration in the Constitution, certain rights should not be construed, denied, or spared to others. Rights retained by the people. People have rights. States have powers. States don't have rights.
states' rights, in my eyes and in many eyes,
in your eyes and in many eyes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's it correct,
has more power than the federal government.
Wrong.
And state laws can basically look at the federal government and say, sorry, we're not going to follow unconstitutional laws. So
you have no clue, dude.
What I find very interesting,
I wonder what you find very interesting,
if we go to this, is that states aren't entirely powerless
get your KKK
to
shirt,
resist federal law. Now, a state, supposedly, because there is a supremacy clause, unfortunately, in the U.S. Constitution.
Unfortunately, there's a supremacy clause. Again, they only like the Constitution except for when they don't.
They can't simply nullify a federal law. However, they can certainly ignore it. And by the way,
well, just because they ignore it, it doesn't mean that they're the right in doing so. And when they try to ignore it and they try and pass a law that's unconstitutional, the courts can come down and say, squash. Nope, this is not a constitutional law. Sorry, you lose. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Democrats do it all the time. They do it with marijuana. They do it with the border. They even
there are Republican states that have also, and conservative states that have also passed marijuana laws. So it's not just a Democratic thing, dude. There are libertarians who totally, and other conservatives who totally support the use of marijuana. And, you know, you would think that it would be a conservative argument that government should get out of the way of individuals trying to just simply use that sort of recreationally, as long as you're doing it safely. But no, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite.
even tell ICE you can't even arrest people. So what's good for the goose is not good for the gander? I don't think so. Republicans can do the same thing that these shitty blue states do as well.
Of course, what you think the blue states are doing, and well, some red states have also done, what you think that the blue states are doing is completely different than what the red states are doing. What the blue state is doing with the marijuana law is it's enabling somebody to do something for personal use that's not harming anybody else. What Texas is doing is trying to empower law enforcement to have a power to deport people then when they don't have the power. So it's literally a personal, individual issue that affects nobody else versus something that affects lots of people that will be used to harass, torment, and harm many Latino, Latina, Latinx folks in the state of Texas. Completely different things. But I'm sure that's the problem with, I guess, you have no hair, so it just completely just stops anything. The hair might stop something from going over your head, but because it's completely just slides right over.
But we can do it for liberty and security and law and order.
You don't do it for liberty. You hate liberty. You hate liberty. Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought up marijuana. You would support gay marriage if you liked liberty. You'd support many other things that liberals want if you liked liberty. You don't like liberty. Liberty is the antithesis to what the modern conservatives want today. Conservatives want tyranny. They want dictator Trump. Look at on my video when I have a just the clip video, it just has Donald Trump saying he wants to be dictator for a day, and that's all that it says. I just want to be dictator, build the wall, whatever. Just be dictator for the day. And then all the MAGA people coming in, oh, sounds great, sounds wonderful. These conservatives would gladly bend over backwards or forwards for Donald Trump, simply because, and they wouldn't care. They would give up the constitutional republic and enable Trump to be an emperor or dictator or what have you, because they would assume he would just be benevolent, even though none of them could spell it.
Okay, so the bottom line is, why can this be done? Well,
and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Sorry.
Because of the principles of anti-commandeering, which dates back to 1842 Supreme Court decision under Prigg versus Pennsylvania, in which the justices all ruled that local and state law enforcement agencies could not be compelled to enforce federal law. And in this...
And, okay, so fine. And again, there's a difference between saying that you can't compel a local or state officer to enforce federal law, so you can't compel a local or state officer to, like, you know, enforce laws on drugs or whatever, to compelling officers to follow some law that's not constitutionally created because you don't have the authority as a state to do it. Again, two different things there.
This particular example, the Fugitive Slave Act. So, once again, states over federal government. So, again,
states over federal government in the fact that a state can't be forced to enforce federal. Again, that's my whole argument as to whenever they make the argument and call something a, quote, sanctuary city when it comes to immigration. There's no such thing as a sanctuary city because, again, cities don't have the authority to enforce immigration policy. And as I've said, if the federal government can't force the city to enforce border policy because the cities don't have the authority to do that. Only the federal government can do it. So there's no such thing as a sanctuary city. Now, a city might say we're not going to cooperate, and that might be what they mean by it, but there's no authority to act. They have no authority to control the border, especially if you're Colorado and you don't have a border with another country. Lol.
Again, I would hope to see more red states start saying, hey, if the left can do it, if these shitty blue states can ignore the laws that they don't want to follow, we can do it too. Okay? And yes, they can do it. Now, the only other thing that I was going to talk about.
Oh, another thing?
Is this.
Boy, he's talking about 3 things today. That's crazy. I don't know if I have the patience or tolerance to deal with 3 things, but let's see what it is. Maybe I will want to talk about it. Who knows?
Chip Roy. Wow. Boy, I swear, some of these people have just turned in to absolute garbage. Ken Buck, for instance, from Colorado. He's
going to be complaining and moaning and whining about rhinos. So I don't, he can eat his own. I don't care about that. But anyway, again, another video for Joshua Bernstein watch. What do you think? Agree, disagree with what I say about old Josh? Leave your comments down below, like and subscribe. And as always, have a good day. Anyway, so Big Hook brought up corrupt Supreme Court earlier, and that's a good point. It's something that I actually did want to talk about, and we did not talk about that earlier when we were talking about how the Supreme Court might rule, but it is something that is a good thing to talk about, because there was an interesting conversation apparently that took place between Clarence Thomas and I don't know if they ever named the Republican legislator, Republican congressman, but the Republican legislator was told by Clarence Thomas that Congress needed to give Supreme Court members a pay raise. They needed to do other things to help them, get more money, or else several Supreme Court justices were going to quit. Including, and I think he implied that he might quit, but I don't know if he ever said that he would quit, but I think it was implied that he would quit. See, Aaron says Dan made me yawn, and Henry stretched out over here, and I think that made me yawn because Henry was stretching out. Anyway, so, and what happened after that was that Congress bent over backwards to do things like allow Supreme Court justices to like give paid speeches, and maybe they did give them a raise or whatever. But then after this point is when Clarence Thomas started making friends with billionaires, and billionaires started giving Clarence Thomas the lifestyle that he so wanted. Why? What lifestyle did Clarence Thomas want? Well, apparently, like, you take a Supreme Court justice and whatever salary they make, and somebody working at a top law firm in this country might make like $7 million a year more than that. And so Clarence Thomas, who decided to turn his life into so-called public service, is now getting tired of what a public servant makes, even though it's much more than what the median income is in this country. But he didn't want to make just that little. He wanted to make much, much more. So they changed the rules for him on being able to give public speeches, and they changed, maybe they gave him a pay raise, I don't know. But then they also, I guess, turned a blind eye and whatever. And now, when asked how he's doing, just fine. He's doing just fine. Just fine indeed. Why? Because now he has like billionaires paying his, they pay his mom's house. They bought the mom's house and letting her live rent free, and paying for scholarships, paying for an RV. He takes the RV and goes stays in a parking lot in Walmart or some BS. I don't know what the deal is with that, but no, he just gets more money. And because look, if Clarence Thomas would have resigned, that would have been a catastrophe for the conservatives who wanted to do things like overturn Roe v. Wade. So they had to bend over backwards to do whatever it is that they needed to do to keep good old Clarence Thomas on the court. And they did. And they got the billionaires coming to bat and making sure that Clarence was happier than a pig in crap. And Clarence Thomas was then able to keep giving us more and more and more and more crap. So there's another reason why this court is so questionable and has such a problem with how it looks, with this so-called optics of how the public perceives this court. There's that big perception problem there, which some of the media prognosticators think that might cause the court to not overturn the why I'm yawning. To not overturn the Colorado Supreme Court ruling. I don't agree with that. I think that the activist conservative Supreme Court is going to say states don't get to run their own elections this time because it's a court making a ruling. Therefore, if it was the legislature, then maybe we would go along with it. But because it's a court making the ruling, we're not going to agree with it. As such, we're going to overturn it, and Trump can be on the ballot. And also making probably some, I don't know. We'll see if they make the argument about when you're voting for president, you vote for electors, not the president, so therefore you can't keep the president off the ballot because you're really voting for electors. If they make that argument, everybody has to shout to the hilltops how much of an awesome legal scholar Dan Zimmerman is. It'll be like, like when I told everybody that Uber was getting tipping, and like 3 people were like, well, yeah, you were right, okay. See, will there be an investigation into corruption? Not unless we get a majority of both houses, says Kimchi. I don't even think then. I think there'll only be investigation into corruption if we take over majority of the Supreme Court, which would then require expanding the court and stacking and packing it with people who would then be a majority of the court, and then have an investigation of the court, because people like Alito would argue that Congress doesn't have the authority to oversee the Supreme Court. And then who's going to determine whether or not the law that Congress passes to to oversee the Supreme Court is constitutional or not. The Supreme Court will determine if the law that Congress passes is constitutional or not. How do you deal with that? Yeah, this was Reagan's replacement of Thurgood Marshall. It's like Thurgood Marshall from Wish. The good old days when we freaked out over sex scandals. We were so innocent. Yes, I miss a good sex scandal over what's going on now. Apparently, I missed a bunch of good food talk. Let me roll back and see what food talk I'm missing. See, I'm in Smackamilla, Missouri. I saw a Border Patrol truck. I mean, it is possible we might have Border Patrol agents that, you know, are trying to deal with particular cases. So, Suzanne, I'll do any financial transactions on the internet. I was hacked really bad. That sucks. Let's see. Kimchi, oh my god, someone's cooking garlic and it's overwhelming. Are they getting me back for all the weed smoke? Probably. Yeah, they have the munchies. LOL. See, Missouri is kind of the convergence of a major North American watershed system. Missouri and Ohio meet Mississippi and head for the Gulf. Aaron, my nose always runs when I eat. Well, you better go catch it. Between Reagan and Bush, these two Republicans have effed us over from the rights producing the greatest wealth of inequity and the loss of privacy after 9/11. Yep. I still say kimchi and curry show. It's a spicy show. that would be funny. That would be a funny show. Y'all should make a food show. The Kimchi and Jeff Curry show. A spicy, maybe even not be a spicy, maybe not even be a food show. Maybe have it be like, maybe I should feature y'all if we ever do Liberal Dan After Dark. Let's see. Last night I made shepherd's pie and wonder why it takes me 3 hours to make a dish out of leftovers by poor people, but it was delicious. Kimchi always talks about food that I want to eat, and I'm not even doing what we've talked about to give me the munchies. Let's see. Big Hook. Once all you can do is taste the chilies. The rest of the meal is ruined. Add that if it hurts. Going in and leaving the body and abstain. See, that's the thing. Like, I like a good spice as long as it's flavorful. Like, I don't necessarily want spice just for the like a hot spicy thing just for the spice, but a good spicy, like flavorful spice that does add to it. And some good spice. Like, so there's some really good spicy food. Like, there was one time where I was in Baltimore. I ordered this General Tso's chicken, and like it said spicy on the menu, but it wasn't spicy, not at all. And so the next time we ordered it, there was a bunch of us gaming together, and I was like, I would like this extra spicy, and it came, and it was not extra spicy. It was not spicy at all. So the next time I ordered it, and I was like, I would like this extra spicy. And it came, and it was not spicy at all. I'm like, what do I have to do? So when I called the last time, I was like, it tasted good, but it just wasn't spicy. And I was like, I want this extra super spicy. I mean, I really like it spicy, really spicy. And like on the package, it had like 17 X's on it. And I think the chef was probably like, I'm going to teach this American a lesson. And oh, it was so good. It was so delicious. It had the perfect amount of spice, and it was so flavorful and delicious. And I was like, this is what I wanted. This is absolutely what I wanted. There was another time where we were back in Baltimore, and my mom took me to this restaurant, and I forget, it was a sandwich shop or something, but it was owned maybe by someone who was a Greek individual, I think, maybe. And they had some sort of spicy pepper spread that he was like, there's no American that I ever know that has been able to eat this spread on anything. And my mom was like, my son will like it. He was like, I don't believe you. I was like, no, he will. And so I came back from college one time, and she took me there, and I grabbed the spoon, and I was like, this is freaking delicious. I want more. And he was like, I don't believe it. And of course, you look at my DNA test, I'm completely, like, translucently white. Let's see. Oh, wait, I missed something. All right, here we go. Let's see. The good old days of flat earthers before they found MAGA. Yeah. Jeff Curry, I got a bottle of ass in the tub hot sauce. See, I had a bottle, it's called the hottest effing sauce, and that's all it's called. And this, like, I had a giant thing, like one of those giant to-go plates of General Tso's chicken, and like this big, and it was completely full, like stuffed full of General Tso's chicken and rice. And I did like 3 little, like, like if I had a dropper, it would have been like drop, drop, drop. And I mixed it all up, and it was the perfect amount of seasoning for that huge thing. That's how spicy this stuff was. But the best hot sauce I think I've ever had, or one of the best hot sauces I've ever had, is called Scorned Woman hot sauce. It is got it's a perfect amount of heat, and it's flavorful. Oh, it's so good. Scorned Woman hot sauce. If you're listening and you make Scorned Woman hot sauce, I would love you to sponsor my show. Yes, he also didn't declare Ginny Thomas's $800,000 salary from the Heritage Foundation work. Kimchi, tomorrow night we're having teriyaki pork. Gotta marinate it. We just started defrosting our turkey for Christmas, and we got a nice big turkey. Or it's not even a big turkey, it's just a 16-pound turkey. So what my wife does is she does like a bourbon turkey, so she's like covers it with like cheesecloth and like pours like the bourbon on the cheesecloth. I don't know why I'm doing this. And stuffs it in the bird, so there's like it cooks with like bourbon all over the place, and like it gets a really nice, good, crispy like skin on the outside, and you use the injector and you inject it into the turkey, and it's nice and juicy and flavorful on the inside, and it's all just really delicious. And the first time we ever made it, like, my stepmother was being really nice and decided that she was gonna, like, I want to cook something that you make when you're at home, because you're gonna be up here, you're not gonna be with your mother. So she decided that we were gonna make the bourbon turkey up there in Maryland for Thanksgiving. So they got together, they made the bourbon turkey, they got it all together. It was nice, a nice golden brown skin around the turkey, and then they had the turkey all cut up and everything on the plate, and we're like, where's the skin? Oh, I threw it away. We were shook. How did you throw away the skin? That's the best part. Oh, I didn't realize. So the next time, 2 years later, when we spent Thanksgiving with them, because we would alternate parents, 2 years later, we did the same thing. We made the thing, and so my stepmother made sure to save the skin, and she put the skin in a bag. So it just got soggy in the bag, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Ruining the damn. So we had Thanksgiving last year here, and nobody ruined the skin. The skin was delicious and wonderful. But then what we end up doing is we will keep we after we have the turkey on that day, on Christmas Day or whatever, we'll take all of the turkey off. I should have gotten potatoes today, because I usually like to have mashed potatoes. We'll take all the turkey off. We'll take the bones, and we'll make a nice stock with the turkey bones. We'll cook that all up and drain it all out and make a nice turkey stock. And then I will use the turkey stock, and I will make turkey gumbo with the turkey stock. And you're in the camera, Henry. So Where was I at? So I made the gumbo the first time, and that was my first time ever making gumbo. And there's a video on this, I think on TikTok, where I showed myself doing all the parts, and I made it gluten-free for my wife using like the King Arthur's cup for cup, flour, and everything. And it was awesome. Like it was really, really good. I'm impressed with myself that the first time making gumbo, I did it well and made it great. So, and it was a big pot of gumbo. So we had tons of gumbo for like days. So, let's see. I heat hot sauce to stay well. I wish I could find something that was hot enough. Nice. For crying out loud, aren't you in Cajun land? I am in Cajun land, yes. I'm in New Orleans. There was one time I was at one of my first jobs after school, after college, and they had this vending machine, and they had this like habanero or whatever, jalapeno potato chips in the vending machine. I was like, this sounds really, really good. And I started eating it, and it was so spicy. Like, tears were just pouring down. My eyes were watering, my nose was running. I go to my neighbor's cubicle, and she's like, oh my God, what's wrong? I'm like, these chips are really spicy. They taste really good, but they're really spicy. And she just cracked up. Aaron, I have to figure out how I'm eating on Christmas because I don't cook. Well, come to New Orleans. See, Aaron, Jews and Chinese people can't be wrong by eating Chinese, just saying. And see, that's what I end up doing. This is the other thing that I end up doing. But the place that I usually order the Chinese food from is actually closed on Christmas. And it's so frustrating that they're always closed on Christmas. I'm like, why are you being anti-Semitic? Why are you hating against the Jews? Because Jews want to order from you and you're closed on Christmas Day. Why? So I end up making like a big order, and I'll have some of it on the day before Christmas, and I'll eat some on Christmas Day while watching Die Hard. Although I'll try and watch Die Hard and make it so that Alan Rickman falls off the Nakatomi Plaza Tower right as it hits midnight. So. See, I only get DoorDash and whenever my autistic son can microwave or bake from the freezer. Bad back and knees. Nice. I was wanting wings the other day, but I ended up going to get pizza delivered, and for some reason, I just wanted Little Caesars or whatever, so I got Little Caesars, but the app was wrong. Like, the closest Little Caesars was, like, if this is where I live, the closest Little Caesars was this way. It picked the Little Caesars that was technically closer as the bird flies this way. But there's a river in the way, so the person had to go all the way around to get to me. And I was like, oh my God, you haven't fixed this yet? It's ridiculous. So. See, Big Hook, you are a capsaicin freak, Dan. Yes, I am. There was one time when we would just like pour like the red hot chili peppers or red hot flakes or whatever on like the pizza and just devour the pizza with that on it. We went to some Chinese place, and see, usually I'll kind of rate the Chinese places that I'll eat food from, whether or not when I ask for spicy food, how they give it to me. Push on. How they give me the food. Do they give me the food? Do they give me the spicy food? Do they get lazy and take all of the peppers and just throw it in? Or do they chop up the peppers and mix it into the sauce? If they chop up the peppers and mix it into the sauce, then that's perfect. That's awesome. If they just are lazy and throw it in, that's not good. So. Let's see, big on kettle fried jalapeno. See, I'm not that big on the jalapeno chips. Like, there's like Zapp's jalapeno chips, and it's just not. And there are sometimes the jalapeno chips are just spicy for spicy sakes and not flavorful, or they have just like jalapeno, like the kind of the fake. Like, there are some of those like jalapenos that are just cheapy, like and just, no, I don't want that. Like, it just gets to be too much. too much of spice and not enough flavor. I think that's it. Like, if you're just like, some of them are made just to give heartburn, and no, I don't want it just for heartburn. I want flavor and heat. I don't want heartburn. So big Chinese restaurants and Indian food restaurants are open. Not the one near me. The Chinese restaurant closest to me is not open Christmas Day, and I don't understand. Jeff, are you type B blood type? And Robert, same thing. Are you both type B blood type? But from you saying that you can't gain weight and that you're both too skinny, I would bet you that you're type B. Most likely. Because I used to work with two people, differing heights, but they were both like super, super skinny, and they would eat all the time, and they would stuff their faces and get super skinny, and both of them were type B blood types. And of course you're A. I'm A blood type too. Type A blood type. Maybe you have a tapeworm then. If you're type A blood type and you can eat all the time and not get anything, maybe either you exercise all the darn time or you have a tapeworm. Sorry. I still can't, like, I'm just closing up some of my tabs. I still can't believe that Vivek Ramaswamy did a freaking his freaking senior thesis on Man Bear Pig. Just hilarious. Jeff, I have no idea what blood type I am. Red. What's my blood type? Gravy. Robert. All right. Well, I mean, if you exercise all the time, you probably have a good metabolism by that way. So that's probably the answer. So there you go. That explains it. You've trained your body well, I guess. Well, good for you. I, unfortunately, have all the problems that we talked about earlier in the show, and unfortunately, it rang true that the past issues and the correlation with the high propensity of being morbidly obese rang true with me, and as such, I often found solace in food and stuff. Let's see, Big Hook, Richmond, British Columbia has the best Asian restaurants. All the chefs are less Hong Kong, open restaurants, and everything is authentic. That sounds wonderful. Maybe I need to go to British Columbia. Anywho. Oh yeah, we have 54 views and an average view duration of 57 minutes. What's that add up to be? Let's do the math real quick. Let's open up the calculator and see where we at. So 54 times 57 equals divided by 60 is 51 hours and 51.3 hours. So 51.3 hours, and we are at 40 hours away. So hopefully this does it. Hopefully this gets us there. Knock on wood. So the food is really good. Thai food is really good if you like spicy. Well, I mean, I like spicy, so there you go. One of my biggest things, though, with going out places and finding food is simply the fact that I usually have to find places that will be good for my wife to also eat, because she has celiac, so she needs to eat places that'll cater to a gluten-free diet. Doesn't have to be completely gluten-free, but as long as it caters to it. And we found some great places. There's Bantam and Biddy in Atlanta. They also have one in Chattanooga. Though those restaurants are amazing. I wish they would go nationwide. They take care of her celiac wonderfully. They make some delicious, like, fried chicken that's gluten-free, that's out of this world. There are other restaurants that do a really good job making gluten-free stuff, and some things are naturally gluten-free. Like, some of the Asian dishes are naturally gluten-free, you can do, but other ones are not. So wait, what? Let's see. Jeff Curry, I'm really high-strung, reminds me, where's Wes? Well, if you say it, he doesn't show up unless you say it 3 times. So we've just said it twice. So no one say it. Maybe he was sleeping. I don't know. Last show, he came into the show and was like, I'm tired. I'm already going to sleep. So he's probably sleeping. Robert, I'm surprised you don't have Sparkler's views numbers. I mean, most of the people in here are Sparklers. I mean, I'm a Sparkler. So, good night, Tim. Thank you. Most of the people in here are Sparklers, and that's wonderful. I'm glad that I do have, some Sparklers coming in and as regulars. I wouldn't be here without Hal. I wouldn't be at 500. I wouldn't be at 700 without Hal. But I know Andrea does a great job of telling people in Hal's chat, hey, come to Dan's chat next, go see Liberal Dan's next. But just for some reason, unless Hal's gonna be here, we don't get the massive flood of the Hal listeners. So, it is what it is. But it'll happen. It'll grow. Maybe more will come along once we start getting to that point. Maybe once we start getting that more popular, once I become partner, maybe that'll make me more visible. I don't know if YouTube metrics make partners more visible, or if the interactions that partners can get make partners more visible, like likes and comments. I don't know if super chats also I don't know if that also triggers anything in the algorithms to be like, oh, there's a super chat, this might be interesting, let's get other people in to see what people are super chatting about. I don't know. So anywho, but yeah, Suzanne, have you figured out, since you said you're basically homeless, have you found, are you figuring out where you're staying tonight, or do you know where you're staying? I guess that's the important thing to figure out before we end the show. Do you know where you're gonna be, where you're gonna be, and then that where you're gonna be is gonna be safe for you? I guess that's the thing that's the most important. And I kind of missed also where in Houston you're staying, so maybe we could look up where that is, unless you're already leaving. If you're already leaving, then sorry I missed you. Let's see. While we're waiting for that, speaking of the gluten-free stuff, I actually did make a gluten-free cookie for a cookie contest that work had, and had I not marked it gluten-free, more people would have tried it, and I might have won it, because everyone who tried it loved it because it was gluten-free. I should have had one marked gluten-free and one marked not gluten-free, and just seen which one, and seeing if people would be like, these ones are really good, and then not try the gluten-free one. Let's see. There is a Cambodian Vietnamese restaurant that makes spicy wings with cinnamon sugar coating. Interesting. I mean, spicy and sweet can pretty much go well together, so that there is that. So, never know. I'll try most things once. Some things maybe not. I have one video where I tried. I had the kids. My wife got this bar, and it was like Bug Off was the brand of the bar, and Bug Off was the name of the bar, and it was like a kind of a chocolate bar, but it was made with crickets. And so I was like, hey, if we make this video and if get tons of views, I'll give you like $50 or something a piece if it gives you if it gets enough views or whatever, or if I get enough subscribers because of this video or whatever. And so they ate it, and like Henry had it, and Henry was like, I don't like it. No, it's not good. And I didn't tell him what it was, other than the fact that I gave it to him to try. And then I gave Thomas one, and he took a big bite, and he was like, I don't think I should have taken this big of a bite. I think I made a mistake eating that big of a bite. And then I was like, read what's on the package. And he read the package. Bug Off? Bugs? Read it more. Crickets? And then Henry's like, nah, nah, nah. And then I went ahead and took a bite of it as well, because I'm not going to give my kids something that I'm not going to try. I tried it. It was all right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't like disgusting. It was only gross because afterwards you knew what it was. Now I'm getting angry eyes from Henry. If it wasn't like, me risking issues from showing him on the screen, I would show you the angry eyes that I got, the look that I just got from Henry. You remember that, Henry? Yeah. Route 66 taco and wings, elk and gator tacos. Hey, P-dubs. Better late than never, right? Gator is good as long as you have white meat. I used to work at Pat O'Brien's, and they started serving fried gator bites, and they started initially with the dark meat, and it was like shoe leather, and people would order it, and I'd be like, no, don't order it. And they were like, why? I want to try gator. I'm like, you don't want to try this gator. It's terrible. It's dark meat. It's like shoe leather, and I'm not going to let you return it if you buy it, because I'm warning you, it's terrible. And they're like, I still want to try it. I'm like, okay, but you're not returning it because I've warned you. And they got it, and they bit into it, and they're like, you were right. It's terrible. I'm like, I told you. It's awful. It's a terrible dish. I tried to warn you away from it, and you didn't listen to me. So, but you ordered it after I told you not to get it. What waiter tells you to not get food? Me telling you to say. It was like the one person who wanted to get a mint julep, and I was like, you don't want a mint julep. You just don't. They're like, why? What is it? I'm like, it's sweet minty bourbon. It's just about as bad as it sounds. And they're like, yeah, but it's the South. You're in New Orleans. You just have to imagine yourself just sitting on the front porch sipping on a mint julep. I'm like, you're not gonna like it, but I'll sell you one. I'm just warning you, you're not gonna like it. And he's like, all right, but I'll get one. So I gave it to him, and he was like, he drank it, and he was like, you're right, that was terrible. I'm like, all right. He finished it off, and he was like, let me get another one. I'm like, why? He was like, I just want to be sure. I'm like, okay, I'm more than happy to sell you another terrible drink if that's what you want. And he bought another one, and he drank another one. He was like, it was just as bad as the first one. But it was a fun customer. He was a fun customer having. I remembered him because of that. I mean, so it was fun serving him as a server. But I mean, you warn people away from something, and they still insist on doing it. See, I got my husband a variety of exotic meats to try. He loved it. I abstained from all but the gator because it looked like chicken. Yeah, I mean, the gator pretty much tastes like chicken. I had rabbit one time, and it was like rabbit legs, and it just looked like chicken tenders. Like, it was just, I just ate it, and it looked like chicken tenders. It tasted like chicken tenders. So, They could have served me a chicken tender and I wouldn't have any idea. I do like a good venison, though. Good venison is good. So this is the end of the show. End of the show talk tends to be a lot of just random rambling about stuff, especially food. Let's see. In Thailand they eat frogs and insects, including. So I mean, they have frogs' legs here. I mean, we serve frogs' legs in New Orleans. I mean, I've never eaten it, but it's one of the things I've never tried. Like, you know how I said I'll try mostly everything? I've never tried a frog's leg. I've never tried escargot either. I have tried oysters once or twice. I'm not big on the fried oysters. I've never tried a raw oyster, and I've done the oysters with the garlic and butter, and done that way, like the char grilled oysters that they serve. That was fine, but I just really just would have preferred and been fine with just having the butter and the garlic and the Parmesan and without having the oyster, because I could just give or take it. But yeah, never had frog's legs, never had escargot, never had snails. And I've had the opportunity to have snails. I could have done it at Epcot during Food and Wine Festival. The French booth will serve escargot, and so you can get a snail if you want to. I just have never wanted to. So. My dad hunted squirrel when I was little. Yuck. Squirrel. So, yeah. I don't know if I've had any of that type of meat. Like I've had bison. I don't think I've ever tried. I don't think I would ever try a Rocky Mountain oyster. I don't think I would try that. That's probably on my no list of things I won't try. And what else? What else wouldn't I try? I've had bison. I've had venison. I like lamb and goat are good. I prefer lamb over goat. There's a place local in Metairie called Cheyenne that has like this lamb curry that I love. Absolutely delicious. It's also a nice spicy dish, and I just devour it. There's also that joke, speaking of the snails, there's also that joke where the giant snail goes into a car dealership and he wants to buy a car, but he's like, before I pull the car out of the lot, I want you to paint an S on each of the doors, and I want you to paint an S on the roof, and an S on the hood, and an S on the trunk. And the guy's like, why? It's like, because every time I drive past somebody, I want people to go and say, look at that escargot. If you've seen, that movie, I think it's coming. I think it was Trading Places. You'll get that. You'll have understood that. Did I talk about that last week about Coming to America and that scene coming true? How the Giants of New York were facing the Packers of Green Bay, and the Giants of New York were triumphant by kicking a oblong ball made of pigskin through a large yellow H. And that's exactly what happened the night before on Monday Night Football. Was they kicked. That's exactly what happened, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, the scene from Coming to America finally came true." P-dubs, am I taking calls? I am not taking calls because Blog Talk Radio is broken. So I'm not even broadcasting on Blog Talk Radio right now. I had to do my opening. Speaking of which, I should go ahead. If anybody who wasn't here early on, let's see. Let's play this one more time, because early on we didn't get to. You might not have heard it, so we can we'll play The War Before Christmas again, just so if the beginning of the the beginning of the show starts with this, so we can play it one more time.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the land Fox News warned its viewers of a dastardly plan. The liberals were launching their war on the season to get rid of Christmas and commit acts of treason, removing decorations out of their sight and telling you that Santa and Jesus ain't white. Environmentalists who'll come right after your soul. They hate all things Christmas, especially the coal. They'll sneak in your house all dressed in their flannel and instead give the bad kids some new solar panels. They'll take up all decorations that please us. They'll even go after tiny baby Jesus. Now all these Fox lies cause such a frustration. Who would save us all from this misinformation? When live from the net there came lots of chatter. Could it be old Saint Nick, or perhaps someone fatter? Broadcasting from New Orleans down in Louisiana, it was none other than Liberal Dan, coming to save the holiday season, busting through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. But I cannot do it myself, he exclaimed, so he called other groups, each one by name. On Christians, on Muslims, on Wiccans, on Jews, on Hindus, on Buddhists, and atheists too. Let's all spread the word and tell them indeed that there's no war on Christmas, just one on greed. So instead of joining this manufactured fight, listen to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Anyway, so there's that. And if y'all want to share that with your friends, this it's just a Liberal Dan tradition that I do every year. That I like to do the war before. I call it the war before Christmas, because I enjoy. I enjoyed making it. It was, and I think I was spawned. I was making it because I think that was the year when Fox News was in an uproar. They were in an uproar over the idea that people were saying that Jesus wasn't white, and they had like a black Santa or something, and they were all angry about all that. And because they were all angry about that, I'm like, I gotta make that into something. And then and then all the war on Christmas BS, and so I like parodies, and so I made that, and there you go. And I had fun with it. P-Dubs, did I talk about the lawsuit against DeSantis? I don't even know if I know about the lawsuit against DeSantis. Maybe I do, but let me see. I might know about it. What I didn't talk about, and I should have talked about, is, and I actually wanted to talk about, is the other thing going on in Florida. Maybe we should end with, should I talk about that right now? I don't know if I should talk about that right now because someone else is in the room, and I don't know if he should hear about that. So is this they are in trouble for taking money from their PAC. Oh, that's not the lawsuit. DeSantis PAC lawsuit. Yeah, because you're not supposed to. You are not supposed to take. You're not. There's certain rules with how you're supposed to coordinate with your PAC and stuff like this. Let's see. A watchdog group has accused Ron DeSantis of breaking campaign finance laws by coordinating with a Never Back Down PAC. Yeah, because if you're the candidate, you're not supposed to coordinate with the political action campaign. There's not supposed to be direct communication, direct coordination. You're supposed to be completely separate. The complaint filed Monday by the Campaign Legal Center claims DeSantis' campaign illegally coordinated with the main super PAC supporting his 2024 presidential bid to influence its activities. According to the CLC, DeSantis complained that Never Backed Down stopped running ads targeting Nikki Haley. Intermediaries then conveyed DeSantis' displeasure to the super PAC's board, which then relayed the messages to staffers in charge of strategic decision-making. That's a clear example of coordinating conduct that federal campaign laws prohibit. Campaigns working in cooperation, consultation, or concert with super PACs include a candidate making a request or a suggestion about where, when, and how a super PAC should be airing communications. CLC said when PACs coordinate with candidates, it allows corporations and other donors to avoid federal contribution limits. Never Back Down has effectively operated as a fully sanctioned armed of the DeSantis campaign, with a supposedly independent group working to directly subsidize and underwrite DeSantis' candidacy, paying a major portion of his travel and event costs, voter canvassing and data collection efforts, and more. Never Back Down Chairman Scott Wagner denied the allegations, saying that Never Back Down fully complies with the law and will continue to do so as we work to help elect Governor DeSantis our next president. It's not going to happen. Never Back Down has raised more than $130 million from less than 200 donors, with contributors including individuals, corporations, and a Florida state PAC, formerly known as Friends of Ron DeSantis, which DeSantis previously established to use to raise funds supporting state campaigns, giving 6- and 7-figure sums. Independence is sorely lacking in the relationship between Never PAC and the DeSantis campaign. Interesting. Never Back Down. We have entered full Orwell mode. Yep. Well, you know, DeSantis' wife was the one that also was encouraging external groups to come participate in the Iowa caucus, because again, she was too worried about the fact that I guess her husband's caucus wasn't big enough, so she needed to have other people to help make his caucus grow. I wish I had a soundboard that was reliable and usable. But yeah. Let's see. A new group backing DeSantis has a George Santos connection. Nice. That's always good. But it's never a good idea when your wife is questioning the size of your caucus. That's always a bad sign. You don't want your wife questioning the size of your caucus. See, Jeff Curry, share it with me. I'm getting a new guitar for Christmas. Nice. Well, apparently Donald Trump's caucuses are huge, and that's not what Melania says. So Melania's like, I do not understand. Don't tell me he has huge caucus, but I don't see it. It is what it is. I looked on pants. It's not there. Why he not do that? See, here's the thing. When I don't have Blog Talk Radio, you know, cutting me off in 3 hours, I'm running over and I don't care. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, the story about how they're still pushing for the I guess, for the head of the Florida GOP to step down. Florida GOP head. They're asking for the Florida GOP chairman urged to resign amid allegations that he violated somebody's consent. And the individual whose consent he violated was somebody that him and his wife, a school board member who is a member of Moms for Liberty, and somebody who is one of the people who is trying to fight the so-called, be supportive of the Don't Say Gay stuff, and, trying to put, take away books from the bookstores, or from the libraries that might, might have individuals who might be gay in them. Who is the woman that got sexually assaulted, who got sexually violated allegedly by the head of the Florida GOP? It's somebody that him and his wife were trying to have a threesome with. Yes. I don't think you can hear me. So yes, hypocrisy is indeed a conservative prerequisite. And I guess, it's the old cliche, I guess, that when they talk about how they don't like gay people, they really just don't like gay men. It's really just usually gay men that they don't like, because when it's, they'll happily like lesbians, especially if they're hot. that's fine with them, especially if they can, be in the middle of the two. So, it is what it is. See, after the moms of labia scandal and the psychopath stare problem, along with the head bobble, DeSantis is pretty much finished. One could hope, but I don't know. Let's see, big pocketbook or big something hook, but one has to be big, so I've heard. Kimchi, who doesn't love lesbians, to be fair? I mean, just like any group, you have your good and your bad. But, I'm sex positive. I'm pro LGBTQA+ on this show, so, I'm just gonna expose the hypocrisy of the fact that they're gonna sit here and rail against people who are LGBTQA, except when they decide to be LGBTQA. But that's part of the other thing, is that it's the Republicans who need government to stop themselves from doing the things that they think are bad behaviors. That's why Democrats don't bother pushing these so-called moral agendas, because we don't consider these things to be bad behaviors as long as they are consented to. But the Republicans need to use government to prevent other people from doing the things, because they also needed to prevent themselves from doing the bad things, because they don't have the ability to stop themselves. And then they still can't stop themselves, and they get in trouble, and they put their feet in their mouths, and whatever it is else that they put in their mouths. And they end up getting a big mess on their hands. Lots of double entendres there. Take it as you wish. So, I mean, yeah, the Florida GQ party has forced him out, but he didn't go willingly, ironically. And I think if they took away his power, he's censured and stripped of duties, but I don't think, has he actually left? That's the thing I don't know. But of course, also, there's his wife. His wife is probably going to deny anything that happened or anything that was supposed to have happened, but of course they'll deny it, then the truth will come out, and then, she'll be shamed, and let's see. I'm sure I'm going to get some interesting Google suggestions now. See, Pride magazine student activist rips into Moms of Liberty co-founder who admitted to threesome to her face. There can be something cathartic about watching anti-LGBTQ+ Republicans get booted from positions of power for engaging in same-sex activities themselves, but a recent scandal prompted one student to lay out the flaws of that argument while absolutely destroying the hypocrite involved to her face. This is good. Let's see. Let's pop this open here, and we can we'll watch. We'll watch this.
Bridget, our first ever interaction was when you retweeted a hate article about me from the National as a Sarasota County school student. You are a reminder that some people view politics as a service to others, while some view it as an opportunity for themselves. On this board, you have spent public funds that could have been used to increase teacher pay, to change our district lines for political gain, remove books from schools, target trans and queer children, erase Black history, and elevate your political career, all while sending your children to private schools because you do not believe in the public school system that you've been leading. My question is, why doesn't an elected official using our money to harm our students and our teachers for her gain seem to matter as much to us as her having a threesome does? Bridget Ziegler, you do not deserve to be on the Sarasota County School Board, but you do not deserve to be removed from it for having a threesome. That defeats the lesson we've been trying to teach you, which is that a politician's job is to serve their community, not to police personal lives. So, to be extra clear, Bridget, you deserve to be fired from your job because you are terrible at your job, not because you had sex with a woman.
Damn. Well, there you go. And again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. That individual was not being hypocritical. That person, again, was saying, look, you want to do what you want to do in your own bedroom, fine. You shouldn't be fired for it. But you should be fired for being terrible at your job. Yes, closet freaks. This morning, Stephanie Miller had the speech the teenager gave to the school board who wanted to remove the moms for Louis Head. Well, I just played it just now. So, there you go. Oftentimes I miss Stephanie Miller for lots of reasons. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. A common theme on the show that we've dealt with and we've talked about is that conservatives do not like to be told what to do, but conservatives like to tell other people what to do. So that's the issue, is that this is another example of a conservative who is not going to be told what to do, but she's going to absolutely tell everybody else what they're going to do. That being said, I think it's about time for me to roll up the show and call it a night. I do want to process some of these videos and upload them to YouTube so they'll be available tomorrow for y'all to share, especially the Fat Man Rant, because got to put that Fat Man Rant out there because, the people who don't understand that the reason that oil surged was because of Donald Trump's bad policy, so why are you going to have him be elected to office again? But, anyway, so this is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. We will, unless something huge happens, we will be back on Monday. Christmas Day is Monday, but usually the Christmas Day activities start in the morning and everything like that. So we will be back. We'll do the regular show Christmas night, and we will do that. It'll probably be the last time I air the War Before Christmas intro. Maybe I'll play it one more time during the show as well, and then we'll go back to the more political intro. Again, Nerdy Dan Twitch stream has changed from Thursdays to Tuesdays. I need to update that on Twitch, I think, but I'm not, again, there's no Nerdy Dan Twitch tomorrow because I'm going to go out and do some nerdy stuff out of the house. Hopefully win this time. But again, watch for more videos, share them out, and hopefully we'll get a Christmas miracle for this Jew, and we'll become partner by December 25th. Hopefully. Knock on wood. So, till next time, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.